our additional panelists that will be presenting tonight in the attendee section as a general attendee, but they will be promoted to panelists once the time comes on the agenda. And just a quick reminder to those participating in tonight's meeting, this is ANC 5D's monthly public meeting being held tonight, February 13th. It is 7:03 p.m. The ground rules are that we have a set agenda, and we'll be allowing opportunity for commissioners to make modifications to the agenda as needed. But the ground rules are that no one will be speaking over anyone, following proper parliamentary procedure, and we will be timed per the agenda as noticed in advance to the public. As well as I'll be have a timer available and also ask Commissioner Rhodes to assist with that timer as well. And Commissioner May, I request that you assist with the agenda if you can screen share it for us so we can ensure that you can also update your notes on there. We can view if you need to add anything on there.
Sure. Sorry, just ask one quick question. Do you mind if I take notes on the agenda in real time?
Yes, we typically did that in our last commission, so it's no issue whatsoever.
Fabulous. Great. And I will do that.
Perfect. Thank you, sir.
In just one moment, I'll get that live.
Commissioner Henderson, we're having issues with your video feed. If you're not aware. Okay, once Commissioner May has the agenda available, I'll call this meeting to order. Friendly reminder to the attendees, we have a Q&A feature where you can ask questions. Feel free to ask questions to us as the commission as well as the presenters. We don't have interpreters available today, so I apologize that we don't have them available today, but I will be showing captions, and that will also be available on YouTube as well. Our lovely interpreters stayed an extra hour last meeting, so I give thanks to them for sticking with us that long. But with the agenda now readily available, I'll call this meeting to order. I'll start with a roll call of the commission. 5D01 is currently vacant. The commissioner that was there as of February 11th has officially resigned from their position for 5D01, which is Union Market. The position is now vacant, and upcoming details will be available through the Board of Elections. So for those that are interested in that position, specifically, if you live in Union Market and you are interested in the ANC position, feel free to reach out. It is not the Board of Elections, the BOE's job to fill that position or do outreach, but being ANC commissioners and the chair of this commission, I can answer any questions you may have if you're interested. 5D02.
Present.
5D03.
Present.
5D04.
Present.
5D05 is myself and I am present. 5D06.
Kathy Henderson, present.
5D07.
Present. Juan McCullum.
And 5D08.
Present.
And 5D09.
Present, Commissioner Blacknell.
Okay. I, Commissioner Salvador Sosa Guzman, confirm that we have quorum for tonight's meeting and we'll proceed. We'll proceed with the adoption of the agenda. My understanding that commissioners might have some additions that they'll like to add to tonight's agenda. Any commissioners would like to make any changes to the agenda as noticed?
I have one proposed addition just after we vote on the minutes that I provide the treasurer's monthly report.
Okay. I move that we add the addition for the treasurer's monthly report to tonight's agenda. Can I get a second on that motion?
Second.
Okay, second by Commissioner Black now, who I heard the stronger voice. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the motion carries. We'll add the treasurer's report after the adoption of the minutes. Any other commissioners like to make changes or additions?
Yes, Commissioner Rhodes, I would like to add a presentation from the council member Parker's office.
Okay, Commissioner Rhodes requests to add Councilmember Parker's budget presentation to the meeting. I move that we accept that addition of adding Councilmember Parker to tonight's meeting to present on the budget. Can I get a second on this motion?
second,
Second by Commissioner Roblin. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the motion carries. We'll add that to tonight's agenda under special presentations. Any other additions to the agenda?
I also have one, which I had emailed you all about yesterday evening, which is that I'd like to request consideration of a letter that I've written for the Department of Parks and Recreation to ask them for consideration for park space in Carver Langston.
Okay. Commissioner Reed requests that we add a letter to our voting action items tonight in support of park space in Carver Langston. I move that we accept that addition. All in favor?
Discussion?
Discussion?
Yes, the number of my constituents have contacted me opposing an action to address a park or turning a vacant lot at 19th and L into a park. It's green space now, and this has been a divisive issue over the years, and I certainly want the opportunity to meet with my constituents yet again before the commission takes any action that's also going to affect the single member district 5D06.
In response to your discussion, Commissioner Henderson, you're requesting that we hold a meeting with your personal constituents?
No, let me clarify so that you can understand.
Please
I
do.
oppose any action or any vote that this commission may take regarding the lot at 19th and L Streets Northeast, given that my constituents oppose turning it into a park. And I'd like the opportunity to meet with my constituents yet again to discuss this matter before the commission takes any action that's going to impact the citizens residing in 5D06.
With respect to that feedback, the residents who have been leading the advocacy for park space in Carver Langston and who approached me with this idea, they include residents of 5D06, and that group of residents has done extensive neighborhood outreach.
Well, they haven't done any outreach to me.
Well,
and I represent the citizens of 5D06. So this can't be a unilateral action on behalf of 5D08.
Well, it isn't, and it's and to be clear, the letter that I'm putting forward, which again I'm happy to present in more detail, is not binding in any way. It simply makes a recommendation to DPR to consider park space in Carver Langston and identifies the site at 19th and L as one.
You didn't even have the courtesy of providing me with the letter prior to your action here tonight. So that's improper.
Well, I did provide the letter yesterday, which was.
You did not. I don't have access to the DC government email address, and I've specifically advised OANC to use for anyone to post my personal email address. So if you're sending anything to the 5D06 mailbox, you should also be sending it to khenderson029@aol.com. So I didn't receive anything from you.
So the motion's on the floor to add this item to the agenda, and the discussion is available during this potential voting action item. So we'll carry that motion to allow the commissioners tonight to vote to add this item to the agenda so we can discuss further.
You're just glossing over my reasonable objections on behalf of my constituents, and you're moving forward without even trying to include me. That seems so improper and very disrespectful.
So we'll continue to vote to add this to the agenda, and we can decide as a commission to discuss this if it's voted and accepted to be on the agenda. That is part of a discussion that we can continue to have during this meeting, but we'll move forward with the agenda. I move that we continue to vote on this item to add it to the agenda, whether or not the commission decides. All in favor to add this letter to the agenda so we can discuss further, say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay.
Opposed.
Take that as a nay. Any abstentions? Okay, the motion carries. We'll add it to tonight's agenda as a voting action item to discuss further. Are there any other additions or changes needed to the agenda? Okay, perfect. So moving forward, I'll allow Commissioner Reed to update the agenda as been noticed a week prior by adding these 3 items. Commissioners and the public that have access to the agenda via which was available via our website and emailed to the public. The agenda has the link there in terms of the minutes that our Secretary Commissioner May has drafted. If you'd like to look at those minutes, feel free to do so. Commissioners, you are provided this agenda advance to your ANC email accounts. We'll proceed with the adoption of the minutes. I move that we adopt the minutes from last month's January 2023 public meeting as presented. Can I get a second to this motion?
Second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Black now. All in favor of the
Discussion.
what would you like to ask or comment on, Commissioner Henderson?
The agenda was not sent out properly. The meeting
Commissioner
notice-
Henderson, is your
Excuse
discussion
me,
regarding the
There is
minutes?
discussion, and do not cut me off. You specifically read Robert's Rules of Order that says commissioners would not talk about
Commissioner
anyone
Henderson,
else. I have the
Commissioner
floor.
Henderson, Commissioner Henderson,
I have
the floor is on the minutes. You're addressing a different item.
No, you're not listening because you're attempting to
You
talk over
are
me.
addressing
I'm
a different
attempting
item, Commissioner
the
Henderson.
The minutes, which were not sent out and properly posted for review before the meeting to all representatives. And it's improper that people have to register each time they log on to these meetings without getting the minutes. That's improper. So if you were to listen, you would have ascertained that my objections and my discussions pertain specifically to the minutes, Commissioner.
Is that it, Commissioner Henderson?
Do you have a response, Commissioner?
No response, Commissioner Henderson. That's my
So
response.
you
Is there
don't
anything
feel that
else?
the minutes should be properly disseminated to all members prior to the monthly public meeting?
I'll let Commissioner May respond before I do.
Yeah, I'd like to just add, I sent a draft of the initial draft of the meeting minutes to the members of the commission on February 4th. And I sent the final version of the minutes, which included all of the attachments from the last meeting on Saturday.
Well, you didn't send it to an email that I have access to. And it clearly states on the OANC website that if you're using the government email address, you should also be sending it to khenderson029@AOL. I don't have access to that email.
So to continue in terms of our response, Commissioner Henderson, we are not obligated to send anything to your AOL account. As stated by the bylaws,
Actually, you are.
no, we're not. As stated by the bylaws, we are delegated and
Well, then I
enforce
guess
using our ANC
we'll let
email
the
accounts
council.
in terms of the minutes and the agenda. If you do not have your proper due diligence to make sure that you have access to your ANC email account, that does not fall on the rest of the commission. That is on you. So you need to take time to make sure that that matter is addressed and fixed. That has nothing to do with us.
Your comments
We
are
we we
condescending,
properly
inappropriate. No, actually, you didn't. You
that we
didn't.
properly ensure that we
You
give
didn't.
you proper notice.
Now you're
Is
trying to
nothing to do
deny
in
me
terms of your
access,
response.
just as you're denying access to the majority of the residents of 5D. It's
No,
improper.
ma'am.
And the
Everything's available
Inspector General,
online, and if you don't want to
the
properly
Inspector
properly
General
look at
will
the agenda,
address
you don't
your
want to properly
problem.
look at the minutes, that's on you, Commissioner. That's
No,
not
it's
going to
on
fall
you,
on us.
Commissioner, because you're
So
not,
I'll move with
you're
I
not
will move
providing,
with this motion
you're not,
as
and
presented
you're
to
very
adopt the minutes.
disrespectful, Commissioner. You really should
Commissioner Henderson, I
adhere
was
to Robert's
speaking
Rules of
and you
Order.
completely
No, you've actually talked
went
over
over
me
me
because
to
you're
speak.
disrespectful.
Commissioner
You're
Henderson,
not
you have
able
your
to comport
opinion.
yourself.
I can't change your opinion,
Please
so you can
comport
have your
yourself according
comments.
to Robert's Rules of Orders, Commissioner.
We'll
Your
continue
actions
with
are
the
clear.
motion. We'll continue with the motion. The
You need
motion
to
was
comport
as
yourself
presented.
according to Robert's Rules of.
We'll present and continue with the motion to adopt the minutes. I had a second by Commissioner Black now,
And it's improper.
and we'll continue with the minutes. Can we proceed in the adoption of the minutes? All in favor of the adoption of the minutes, say aye.
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 Those in favor say nay,
Opposed.
and any abstentions? Okay, we'll proceed. The ayes have it. We have adopted the minutes from last month's meeting. I'm sorry. Proceeding with the agenda, we have the monthly treasurer report as presented by Commissioner Cobb. Commissioner Cobb, can you go ahead and present the report?
Thank you, Commissioner. And just to reiterate, this is not something that we vote on. It's just something that we do every month, just so that the public knows where our finances are. For January 2023, we had an opening balance of $28,718.46. We had no allotments or expenses, so our closing balance was the same.
Perfect. Thank you, Commissioner. Okay.
You give that number to me one more time, Commissioner Cobb. Sorry about that.
Sure. $28,716.46.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mhm.
And thank you, Commissioner Reed, for putting that detail for the public available in real time. Okay, proceeding with tonight's agenda. Before we proceed with our presentations and folks sharing some valuable information to ANC 5D, as discussed during our COW meeting, we're looking to attain a parliamentarian for our meetings moving forward, whether that's an ANC commissioner in 5D or one that is available for us to hire to assist in these meetings, as we can all see that they are getting a little more active than what they used to be. And stating that we have an officer election available. And with this officer election, we again are going to accept nominations from ANC officers for a parliamentarian. If no officer is selected to be a parliamentarian tonight, we'll proceed and move this, we'll table this discussion to a later meeting in efforts to find a parliamentarian to assist with 5D's meetings. ANC 5D commissioners, are there any nominations for parliamentarian tonight within the commission?
I'll nominate Commissioner McCollum.
Okay, Commissioner McCollum has been placed in the ring. Are there any other ANC commissioners or anyone else interested in the officer position of parliamentarian? The role would specifically help assist during our public meetings. There would be no administrative roles encompassed in terms of what the other officers do. So again, this is a role that's heavily needed for our public meetings to assist in terms of parliamentary procedure. Any other nominations? Okay. Commissioner McCollum, do you accept the nomination for parliamentarian?
Excuse me, I was on mute. So thank you to Commissioner May. I do accept the nomination. I would also like to just say publicly and put it out there that if the commission does vote me into this role, I plan to be fair with everyone. And I do plan to follow Robert's Rules of Order with how we would conduct business. I do not plan to take any sides in the meetings. I plan to be very firm in the way that we will conduct these meetings so that we are professional, we stay on course and on agenda, and we be about the people's business. So I do appreciate the nomination again.
Perfect. Thank you, Commissioner McCollum. Those are great words to hear from a potential parliamentarian tonight. We'll go ahead and commence a vote based on roll call for this position as parliamentarian nominating Commissioner McCollum. Since 5D01 does not, again, is vacant, and we'll proceed first with 5D02 in favor of Juan McCollum being elected as our parliamentarian for 5D.
I do.
Commissioner Rhodes,
Yes, I do.
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner. 5D03,
Yes.
thank you, Commissioner Roblin. 5D04,
Yes.
thank you, Commissioner. I am 5D05, I say yes. 5D06,
Abstention.
okay. 5D07,
I will abstain.
okay. 5D08
Yes.
and 5D09.
Yes.
Okay, looks like the ayes have it in favor of Commissioner McCollum becoming our new parliamentarian for ANC 5D. Congratulations, Commissioner, you are a new parliamentarian. Best to all of what you will help us with during our public meetings. And we'll continue tonight's meeting officially as our parliamentarian for ANC 5D.
Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, moving on to the meat and potatoes of tonight's meeting. We'll start with standing presentations. For the public, you might notice that we have our chat feature disabled. We had some issues at our last public meeting where unnecessary comment were being directed to commissioners, between the attendees as well. So we decided to disable that feature tonight. Proceeding with tonight's agenda, we have the Q&A feature available to have the ability for the public to ask any questions on tonight's standing presentations, special presentations, and voting action items. With that being said, a friendly reminder again to those presenting, we will be timing tonight's items as properly served and noticed to the public. So please be mindful of the time so we can properly proceed with the agenda as noticed. And again, if there's any questions, that's what we have our Q&A function for. So feel free to use that throughout the night. Okay, so starting with first, our standing presentations are our commissioner reports, and going down through the roll call of ANC 5D will allow folks again to speak, commissioners to speak specifically on their single member districts. 5D01, again, as the chair of ANC 5D myself, I'm currently overseeing the matters of 5D01, which is Union Market. We have had quite a fair amount of activity in the last month in Union Market in terms of public safety, and I'll let the 5th District officers discuss that more in detail. But we've had some traffic safety investigations placed in Union Market in terms of some of the crosswalks and other spaces within Union Market that are in need of assistance. So if there's anything else that any residents are in need of and need to contact the commission, feel free to contact me. Before Miss Ryan resigned from ANC 5D01, she did place my contact information in her in her out of office message. So if you've been contacting, if you need to email them, feel free to email that email and you'll get my contact information automatically. 5D02.
Yes, we have met with DPR concerning Cromel, DPR and DGS. They will be working on Cromel this coming year, but it's looking like it won't be the renovations won't be final until 2025. Also, we have Department of Buildings here on the call or on the meeting, and the Department of Buildings will be putting their information. They are, as we know, DCRA was divided into two parts, Department of Building and Department of Licensing. Hasley, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this right. Crawford from Department of Buildings will be putting their information into the Q&A function for the public and for the commissioners. Also, DOEE will be doing a presentation in March to update us on any the results from the sampling of the chemical plant. So that will be happening in March.
Perfect. Thank you, Commissioner. 5D03.
Hi. So a few things have been brought to my attention. The biggest issue is that pit on Florida Avenue between West Virginia and Montello, which I'm sure almost everybody has seen. It's been that way for 10 years. And the issue is that it keeps on basically they don't pay nothing has been done on it for 10 years. And there's also 1108 Montello that is in the same situation also for about 10 years. It's a stalled construction project, both of them. And these are causing a lot of problematic activity. For instance, there have been a lot of break-ins in the alley between Florida and Morse. There have been people going to the bathroom in people's yards. There's a lot of drug activity. There's a lot of loud parties Fridays and Saturdays. So a few constituents have brought this to my notice. So we're going to gather a group together to discuss the issues, and we're going to bring it to Mr. Stout after we sort of get straight different details about it and take it from there. And also we've been trying to, a constituent of mine was concerned about not having real-time information in two bus depots. So I've been working on that also. It's going very slowly. And as far as the group that I've been getting together, the community support and action group, we had a issue come up where we have about 20 people in it right now, but I have found out that it was actually a conflict for me to do it myself. It's an ethics violation. So we're going to bring that up. I'm going to bring it up at the COW meeting where we can discuss it, and then we'll vote on it. I think either in the COW or the March public meeting. As far as getting it to be a subcommittee, because if it's a subcommittee of the whole commission, then it's not an ethics violation. So we're going to vote on that and take it from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. 5D04.
Thanks, Commissioner. I'll just keep it short. 2 updates about the 1200 block of Meigs Place Northeast. First, they are installing new sidewalks. They should be starting any day now if they haven't already. Commissioner Salcedo Guzman, I was there the other day, but it looked like they have started. Okay, so good. So that's happening. And then in the spring, when paving season rolls around, the block will also be getting speed humps, which I know the neighbors have been clamoring for a while. And I'm very glad to see that DDOT has finally come to its senses and granted that request. So that's all I have for this month.
Thank you, Commissioner. 5D05 here. Same thing. I requested those speed humps about 2 years ago coming into the commission. I'm very happy that DDOT decided to move forward after a lot of activity there, specifically speeding, and with a high volume of children on the block. I'm very happy and delighted that DDOT moved forward with is moving forward with the speed hump installation there. We did have an issue on West Virginia Avenue in terms of some folks posting up at vacant lots, vacant housing, and disturbing some of the residents there. Luckily, with the council member's office and DOB, we're getting some attention that way. But again, if you need to reach me, you can easily reach me at 5d05@anc.dc.gov or directly on my cell that you can also find on our ANC website. 5D06.
Good evening, neighbors. Kathy Henderson, 5D06. As I indicated at the January meeting, my focus is to immediately improve the cleanliness of 5D06 and the surrounding areas. And I'm happy to report that I was able to coordinate with MPD, Fire and EMS, and DPW to remove an individual living in her vehicle on Maryland Avenue, much to the disgust of a number of my constituents in Union Heights. I've also been in touch with the mall management at Heckinger Mall to insist that they provide a thorough cleaning. And I'm pleased to report that they have done a cleaning. It looks 90% better, but the goal is to 100% better, because I think that we can have zero trash. I also assisted the residents of 5D08 last night after a fire that destroyed 1834 L Street Northeast and damaged several other houses. A number of the residents were displaced. We were not able to contact Commissioner Reed. We knocked on his door. There was no answer. The fire happened at 3:30 in the morning. I've also been in touch with the mayor's office to provide resources. We coordinated with the Red Cross to assist those residents in providing shelter that were displaced. And so far, 4 houses were displaced, and the entire block was disrupted because of this unfortunate incident. One person was injured. He has non-life-threatening injuries because he jumped from the home, and he's recovering. So I will continue to assist because it's the right thing to do. And finally, I received complaints from a number of my constituents regarding, it seems like a clandestine effort to yet again target the 19th and L Streets green space to try and turn it into a dog park, or playground, which the community has opposed emphatically over the years at multiple times, at multiple meetings, and we will do so again. I'm very disappointed that the 5D08 commissioner has undertaken this action surreptitiously without even extending me the basic courtesy as his colleague to provide a copy of this document. And it just underscores a sense of entitlement and privilege that just disrespects the longstanding residents of this community and the voices that have already been heard. So with that, I rest and I look forward. And one other issue, I have a petition here so far with 50 signatures demanding that these meetings be held public as they are supposed to. The process for signing into the meetings is very, it's slightly complicated and it's inconvenient to most residents. And these meetings, we believe that keeping the meetings as call-in and as a Zoom as options are effective, but the meetings should be held publicly. I have yet to receive a key to the ANC 5D office, which I've asked for multiple times. And I'm not sure
Time.
why the host could,
Time.
continue to mute me. That's just
Time.
so disrespectful.
Time.
It's just very
5D07.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good evening, everyone.
So you can't mute it.
All right. So I'll be very brief here. I just like to bring up some updates and to also extend an invitation to those that are in 5D07 and the surrounding areas. On February the 19th, we'd like to solicit community participation. We will be doing a community cleanup efforts at 11:30 a.m. in the morning. We plan to walk 5D07 with some of the residents from L Street. We had this planned earlier on. Actually, the condo association had this planned for January, and I asked them if they would please postpone so that we can get a larger participation from those that live in 5D07 and also those in the surrounding area. So again, on February the 19th at 11:30 a.m., we will be doing cleanup efforts in 5D07. I also wanted to bring to the attention that in the last meeting, I shared the concern of the residents from H Street and those on H Place in the alleyway. I believe Commissioner Henderson also echoed those sentiments that I had with regards to the trash and the poor just the poor efforts that have been taking place in the area with regards to trash pickup and also the residents that are there on H Place. I did work with I put in a request with DPW and we were able to successfully have the alleyway cleaned. I have made it my business to walk that alley once a week just to look to see if it's getting back out of hand. That is a hot area that I do plan to continue to watch. But as of right now, we were able to get DPW to do an extensive clean. And so I would like to report that. I would also want to just acknowledge publicly that there is a lot of construction that's going on in 5D07, as I'm sure in some of the other surrounding areas as well. And I just want all of our neighbors to really, really be on the lookout of anything that they feel that may be illegal construction taking place. That is one of the things that I really, really have a zero tolerance for is illegal construction. So if you see any acts of potential illegal construction taking place, I'm going to ask that you all will first call 311 and get some type of ticket, a number system there. And then from there, we will have formal complaints through DOB. Also, and I'm pretty sure the representative for DOB will probably highlight this later, but there is an open house on Thursday with DOB and DCLP. I'm just announcing this because I did have a meeting today with DOB with regards to a construction project that received a stop work order, 845 19th Street. It received stop work today. And so I would just like to invite everyone to a public open house with DOB taking place on Thursday from 5 to 7. At 1100 4th Street Southwest. That is their office. You can find all of my contact information on the ANC website, and I'm here and readily available to serve in any capacity you all may need me in. Thank you.
And 5D08.
Thanks, Commissioner Saucedo Guzman. Hello, everyone. Good evening. I'm Reed May, the Commissioner for 5D08. A couple of notes. One is this is more of a housekeeping note. It's my first time keeping minutes in real time, so bear with me. I will continue to clean these up afterward. I did see a couple of questions in the chat about the availability of minutes, and I just wanted to clarify. The minutes will be posted directly on ANC 5D's website. Because I'm keeping them in real time, it won't take me long to turn around an initial draft. So we'll get a draft up within a few days of our public meetings. And then, of course, the final minutes won't be final until they've been approved at a subsequent public meeting. So that's when we'll note that on the website. I'm also going to make an effort to include attachments that are relevant to that public meeting. So, for example, January's minutes will include some of the reports from the builders who presented planned unit developments, as well as the quarterly financial report that we approved, and the letter to Petco, as an example. Beyond the minutes, a couple quick updates. One is that I also have a speed hump update. M Street Northeast, the 1800 block of M Street, will also be getting speed humps this spring. That's something that I spoke with a lot of residents about during my campaign this fall. So I'm excited to be able to share that good news. Excited to see those coming to 5D08. And then I did also, we'll talk more about the park request. But I did also want to note that we are the residents who've been advocating for this park in Carver Langston have been engaged with the council member's office, and we're actually going to have a community conversation with Councilmember Parker on Thursday this week. All of the commissioners have already received information about that, but I want to invite any other member of the community who's interested in coming and voicing support for and discussing park space in Carver Langston. You can feel free to send me an email at 5d08@anc.dc.gov, and I'm glad to send you the details for that conversation. It'll be on Zoom, just like this meeting is. I think that is it for me today.
Thank you, Commissioner. And Commissioner Blacknell, you are the last one with a few minutes left.
Yes, I'm gonna be very quickly. I'm Commissioner Bernice Blacknell, ANC Commissioner for 5D09. I'm pleased to announce that the speed humps for the 2100 block of M Street and the 21 second block of M Street have been approved. I did not receive a specific date when they're going to install them, but I did receive an email. Also, the RVs that have been parked up the back behind the Arboretum and everything, that is being taken care of. I had a walkthrough on Thursday with Oliver from Council Member Zachary Parker's office, and it's being handled. Also, the streetcar second edition that was they're trying to build on Spingarn, the Historic Preservation Board denied that extra addition, so streetcar would not be putting their second car barn addition on Spingarn's grounds. And that's just about it for now.
Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate that. Moving forward with the agenda, we'll reserve some questions directly for the commissioners at the end of tonight's meeting. But moving forward with the standing presentations, we have our public safety report. We have Sergeant Hansen here, promoting him to panelist. So he'll be joining us shortly. I'm also promoting Oliver Stout, who's here on behalf of Councilmember Parker's office. And don't see Mr. Ingram. Mr. Ingram, who's part of the mayor's office, if you're in tonight's meeting, please raise your hand so I can elevate you to panelist. Sergeant Hansen, whenever you're available, you can go ahead and speak.
Good evening, Sergeant Hansen from the 5th District. I'll start with the 30-day to the previous 30-day crime statistics for the area. I just have numbers. I don't have anything in detail. Anybody wishing more detail, more than welcome to email me and I could look into that. But there's a one homicide, one assault involving a dangerous, 12 assaults involving a dangerous weapon, 8 robberies, 7 burglaries, 12 motor vehicle thefts, 18 theft from autos, 42 thefts, and a large portion of the ADWs are domestic related. And the Captain Merrill wanted me to pass along information that the Office of Attorney General, DC Safe, and Office of Victim of Crimes, excuse me, are going to start an outreach program in Langston Terrace and Carver Terrace. And he was asking if the commissioners from those respective areas could kind of get the word out We're looking for people that may need some assistance in these areas, some victims, some couples that are experiencing difficulties or have a history of violence, that the outreach groups can come in and help out and try to reduce this or eliminate any further kind of assaults and things like that. And the theft from stolen autos, those are mainly vehicles leaving running unattended. A lot of the food delivery folks, and we try to keep putting the word out, not to do it, even if somebody's running into a store or up to a house. So basically people are watching them, they get out, the car's running, and then somebody hops in and takes off in the car. And with the theft from autos, we just ask that people not leave anything at all in the car. Something so minor, somebody may decide that they're going to break into the car and see if there's other things of that nature, or if you're at home or you're out and about, not to just go to the trunk and put things in the trunk, because some folks sit and watch for opportunity. And if they see this happening, they're going to break into the car once you've walked away from it. That is all I have. I can give my email out if that's helpful.
Yes, if you can go ahead and drop it in the Q&A so folks can reach out to you.
Will do.
We'll start with questions. I'll start with the commission and we'll move forward with the public who've dropped questions in the Q&A. 5D01 again is vacant, but speaking on behalf of the MPD involvement there, I've noticed a high presence there. I'm actively at Union Market, and I've noticed a high presence there. My understanding the presence, the large presence in Union Market has been 911. And with that being said, I do recommend all our neighbors all across 5D to do the same. You might be individuals like myself that sometimes don't feel that a call is too necessary based on what you hear, what you see, but it is powerful to dial 911. So please, if it hasn't been a norm for you to do so, start making it a norm. When you see something or hear something, dial 911 so we can get greater presence, because the commander for the 5th district has stated that they go by the stats, and if they're getting the calls, they're going to react based on the data that they're receiving. So that's my little plug for 5D01.
And I would just like to even say with the 911, and not encourage people to call the district, because when you call the district, these runs aren't tracked, and the stats aren't being populated, and there's a big delay in the response time as well.
Thank you. 5D02, any questions?
No, but there's a question in the chat about a police car sitting on Capitol Avenue.
Okay.
For 4 days. Can you elaborate on that? On Capitol Avenue, 1900 block of Capitol Avenue, there was a police car.
If somebody had the number on that car, I could find out where it's from. I don't have any specific information why a car was up there, but all the cars have numbers, and which I'd be able to identify what division that vehicle belonged to.
And Amy, you're asking that question. Did you call the 5th district? Maybe they'll be able to give you the details. That's it for me.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. 5D03, any questions?
Yes, I do. Thank you. I had read on Nextdoor just a few days ago that someone called 911 and there was like no answer. It seemed like it was no answer at all, or no answer for a very long time. And then they called the 5th district. They said they called 5D, and the officers were very rude to them there. They were saying, well, we're not 911, was what they wrote. I can put the link to the posting in the chat. And also, like, not that long ago, I unfortunately had to call 911 myself, and it rang for a very long time, and nobody answered. And I think this is like a real big concern. I mean, shouldn't 911 be one of the things that are always funded? It's really, really not safe to not have it answered.
Yeah,
Thank you.
unfortunately, some years ago, the city took away 911 from the police department and established a whole separate agency. So I'm not able to really address why they're not answering their phone. But anytime there's an officer, if somebody's not satisfied with their service, or maybe they believe the person gave them a poor attitude, they can always speak with a supervisor, or there's also the Office of Police Complaints. I would just advise them to get the person they're speaking with's name. We're required to give our name and our badge number.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Commissioner Roblin. 5D04, any questions?
No questions for me.
Thank you. 5D05 is myself. I have no direct questions at this time. 5D06.
Sergeant, can you give us an update on the homicide at 5D09 on 21st Street?
I don't have any specific information on that. It would be, what happens is I couldn't even look at the report. The homicide division locks out the entire case once it's taken over by them.
Are you able to verify that it was closed with an arrest?
I don't have that specific information with me.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, 5D07.
Sergeant, thank you for being here tonight. I just had a constituent that lives at 759 18th Street Northeast. That alleyway that's behind the residence, it's flooded with hot activity, if you will. And so there's been plenty of concern about the presence of what seems to be a lot of, drug activity taking place, and several calls, to the police officer, to the police and to 311 and just concern. And so I wanted to know if there was anything that we could do to get more presence to be somewhere in that area around the 18th block alleyway, specifically behind 759.
Yes, Captain Merrill, if you reach out to him, he could facilitate having a officer special attention. But also I'll pass along the information to our crime suppression team, which goes out and does the proactive kind of drug enforcement, things of that nature for the district. And what used to be Narcotic Special Investigations Division, which I can't remember. They're right here on New York Avenue, though. They have a new name. And I can reach out to them and give them the information as well. But definitely, if you could reach out to Captain Merrill and kind of tell him exactly what the concerns are, and he'll be able to facilitate within all three shifts of us patrol people. And then I'll reach out to the crime suppression team to see if they're able to focus some efforts over there.
I'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, 5D08, any questions?
No questions. I did just want to offer that regarding the homicide in the on 21st Place Northeast, Commander Altieri did send a press release out to all ANC commissioners, and it noted that there was an arrest made, and also that the crime was domestic in nature.
Thank you for sharing that information. 5D09, Commissioner Blacknell, any questions?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner May. I received an email too, in a reference to the homicide. And Commissioner McCarlin, when you have time, Captain Murrah would like to meet with both of us in reference to some things that are going on in our single member district. I don't know if you received the email or not.
That was in reference to the domestic violence situations that are happening over there. And Captain Merrill did reach out to me, Commissioner Blacknell, Commissioner McCollum, to facilitate some stuff out that way. So thank you for reminding us of that.
Thank you so much. I do look forward to that.
Okay. Sergeant Hanson, if you could just share your contact information with us, and we'll make sure that we drop it in the chat. Friendly reminder to any panelists tonight, you do have access to the chat to properly share contact information to the public. Again, I apologize, public, that you don't have that function tonight due to last month's meeting. do the back and forth on some of that. But we do have that available for contact information. And I do request that we remain using the Q&A feature solely for questions. Please refrain from comments. We're using that for questions. Are there any other questions from the public? I don't see anyone. I don't see any other ones. I have here Maya Richards, the crime suppression unit and the other officer to contact of call 911 at least 12 times regarding the activity in 5D03. Maya Richards, I do request alongside all the residents of 5D that are specifically on this meeting tonight. I'm sorry, the 5th district does have a citizens advisory council that meets once a month, the last Thursday of the month. This is an opportunity for citizens, residents, to speak directly to the commander of the 5th district. I have attended the meetings since I've been a commissioner. They have been highly helpful. I've had my own constituents attend meetings to address specific matters, and they have been handled and addressed. So feel free to reach out to me. I'll get you direct contact with this opportunity for you to speak. I invite all other commissioners to join, and we'll be sharing that information via an email blast next week once we get their access information. So I know that is an available source if you feel like you're not being properly taken care of by some of the folks that are supposed to be taken care of, which is 911. So I'm sorry you had to go through that experience, but Sergeant Hansen, if you can probably take back that a lot of residents in ANC 5D have been having issues just getting hold of someone on the other line on 911.
Absolutely. I will definitely send that information up the chain so they can address that.
Perfect. Okay, are there any other questions, commissioners, before we proceed? I do have one from the public. Miss Juanita Diggs will allow her to ask a question, but Commissioner McCollum, I see your hand still raised. Do you have another question?
Oh, I do apologize.
Okay. I'll allow Ms. Diggs, you have the ability to speak.
Hi,
You can ask a
yes.
question.
How are you? This is Juanita Diggs. So Sergeant Hansen, I don't know if I'm getting ahead of myself or not, but I think I need to do just that. So I live at between Maryland Avenue and M Street on 21st, and we have a lot of activity as it gets warmer. Are we going to have more presence in the spring? And are we going to have any police activities that we used to have, but we seem to have been sort of knocked off of the block about having police interactions. So we'd have, like, you all come and we have a block party and the police hang out with the kids and do fun things. And it's a very positive way for children to see the police and residents themselves to see the police in a better light. What are you saying? What say you?
I think so. I think with the new commander, then I think we're going to get back to that, how it was under Commander Fitzgerald, with more involvement within the community. I do know that as far as a crime fighting aspect, there's been some units that are going to be developed with the warmer weather coming and going into the spring and summer that are going to be in the community, focused on specific types of crime. And I try to sit up at 21st and Maryland as much as I can. I sit right at the intersection. Come out, talk to me anytime you want. I'm usually sitting there in my car doing my reports and stuff like that. But I think as the warmer weather, once these warmer weather crime plans start coming together, you're going to see more of that. And definitely with Commander Altieri, he's very much into the community, much into the police department. He's an outstanding person to work for. And I think we'll start seeing it back to what you're speaking of.
That's great. Actually, we love Commander Altieri. And I'm a part of the Citizens Advisory Council, and it is indeed, as Commissioner Salcedo Guzman said, very helpful group of people to join. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Sergeant, we appreciate your time here tonight. Again, I dropped the contact information, your email for folks to ask directly contact you. We apologize if we can't get to everyone tonight, but feel free to email the sergeant if you have a question.
18th place, which was nice.
Thank you very much.
Okay, moving forward, do we have a representative from the mayor's office tonight? Commissioners, I don't know if you see Mr. Ingram in the chat. I believe he's the only moker at this time, so he's fairly busy for all of Ward 5. If he is not there, we'll proceed with Mr. Stout. Mr.
Yeah,
Stout, are
Mr.
you
Ingram
available?
is not in the chat.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Stout, are you available?
Yes, I'm here.
Perfect.
So I'm Oliver Stout. I am the Constituent Service Coordinator for the Ward 5 Council Office. I will be dropping my information. I would encourage everyone here to utilize me to escalate your requests and your constituents' concerns. As far as announcements are concerned, we have two big things that we would like to talk about. One is start off with the first one, which is our Senior Advisory Committee. We are going to be creating a Senior Advisory Committee. This is going to be an opportunity to bring Ward 5 seniors together to have a voice so that they can inform quality of life issues and legislation that impact seniors across the communities. The council member will be appointing 9 members, and they will all serve 2-year volunteer terms. For more information, you guys, I can drop a link into the chat for members that would like to apply. If you guys know anyone that would be specifically interested in this job, you guys can contact me, or you guys can utilize the application on the website when I drop the link, as well as we will be passing these out to a number of different facilities, senior facilities, libraries, and rec centers. As far as that goes, we also would like to announce the budget letter. So the budget letter will be the mayor's, she will be announcing her budget draft on March 22nd. We will be submitting our budget letter that reflects the input from all of you guys. And that adds up about 300 Ward 5 residents and leaders, included ANC commissioners and civic associations. We've brought their priorities, and the council member will be presenting that. We're going to approach it and see where the $20 billion will be spread out equitably. We would like for you guys to advocate as well as give your feedback and join us at the budget hearings to testify. So the council member will actually be going into more detail as far as the 5 Ds priority and what you guys would think that we should put on the budget letter tonight as well. And that's about it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Stout. I'll again reserve first time for commissioners to ask questions. No questions from 5D01, 5D02.
How long again do we have to get the information before the mayor?
So the mayor will be releasing her draft March 22nd. We would like to have ours in the coming week or two to make sure that we get that off to her as far as our budget letter. So it will be probably around this week and early next.
Okay, great. Thanks.
5D03, any questions for Mr. Stout?
No, thank you.
Okay, 5D04.
I was just going to ask when the council member's budget letter is coming up, but Commissioner Rhodes asked that for me, so thank you.
5D05 is myself. Mr. Stout, just a quick question. What do you see are some of the top priorities or needs that the ward is presenting to the council member right now during this budget conversation?
So we've had a number of different things as far as traffic, of course, and public safety, things of that nature, capital projects, violence interruption, or violence prevention. Those things all go into, and he will be able to give you more information on that as well.
Perfect, thank you. 5D06.
Good evening, Mr. Stout. I reached out to you, I copied you in a letter to the council member regarding this divisive park issue that we've already addressed, and I didn't receive your response, nor did I receive a response from the council member. As I indicated, for now, I don't have access to the ANC account. I've used my personal account in addition. You responded to my personally, so I haven't received a response. Any issue, this issue, which affects my constituents, and any effort to circumvent us will certainly not bode well for moving forward with effective communications with the council member. So my thinking is that he intends to be the council member to all Ward 5 residents, but if that's not the case, let us know.
You kind of went off, but I did receive your email and I will respond to your email.
You know, I would ask that the
Okay.
chairperson not have any
This is the,
difficulty with.
so I've been trying to communicate with you through another email. So when you did send that, I did see that and I will be responding back to that.
Okay,
And
thank you. I look forward to your
again,
response.
yes.
Okay, 5D07.
Good evening, Mr. Stout. Thank you for being here. If you would, just so I'm clear, for the Senior Advisory Committee, can you please direct to where we can find that application again? And I want to make sure I'm clear, if we would like to nominate a senior that's in our single letter district, do we need to just give them the form, or should we fill that form out as a nomination for there?
So right now I'm trying to drop it into the chat.
Okay.
I'm gonna do that. I think I can. I don't know if it's letting me drop it here. So do I put that into the Q&A?
Yep, it's there.
We see.
But it won't let me type.
We'll drop it in the chat for you, Mr. Stout. Don't worry.
Okay. So I'll drop all that information into the chat and then you can go from there. And if you need them in hard copy, just let me know as well.
Yes,
Thank
I
you.
would like them in hard copy. We have a number of seniors and they don't have access to the internet.
Well, if you send me your information, then we can connect on that as well. Okay.
Well, you have my information.
Well, I have your email.
Okay, 5D08.
Hi, Oliver. Thanks for being here. I just wanted to ask, I wonder maybe you could just share a little bit about your process to solicit feedback for the budget, and perhaps clarify for the commission and the public whether you only allow folks like us, commissioners, to submit feedback, or if perhaps any community member can request things like park space in their neighborhood.
We're willing to listen to everyone, so everyone is able to give their input. There's different ways to testify. There's ways to reach out to us as well on our website, as well as calling the office with our contact information. So we're gathering information from everyone. Everyone is definitely important to us, and we need the feedback from every individual.
No, I appreciate that. I think it's
Yes.
good clarification for everybody here that that any resident, and in fact, many residents have independently reached out to the council member with their suggestions for how you all should advocate for budgetary resources.
Perfect. 5D09. Any questions for Mr. Stout before we give time for the public to ask questions?
No, I don't have a question, but Oliver, I would like to thank you. Friday, they did put the stop sign up on 21st and I Street. They did do that. So that's up.
Thank you.
And again, thank you, Mr. Stout, for helping us with the West Virginia Avenue situation on the 1700 block. So we appreciate your assistance there. Okay. Moving forward to questions from the public, I have one question from Mr. Nguyen, just confirming, how can residents submit budget requests to the council member directly? You're muted, Mr. Stout, if you were commenting.
Can you guys hear me now?
Try it now.
You guys can email or you guys can call the office. And I will put the email here. It will be the contact email for us. I'll be sending that in to the chat. I'm trying to work the chat. So I'm sending everything to you, Salvador.
If you want, you
Get
can
on
do
my-
the same thing that Hazel Crawford did. Just drop a really good, informative post in the Q&A, and we'll leave that open for people to view.
Okay.
So you can take your time on that. No rush on that.
All right.
So you can have everything. So people aren't searching through the chat or anything like that. You can just do it. Hazel Crawford did, which we appreciate Hazel for doing that. That was very helpful. Okay. Moving forward, do we have any other questions for Mr. Stout? I don't see any in the Q&A. No hands raised. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Mr. Stout, for coming out tonight. Again, if you want to drop that information in the Q&A, we'd really appreciate it.
Can we also add their contact information on agenda?
That's good.
Since it's for public.
I can absolutely be sure to do that. I'll add it to the minutes.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay, moving forward with the agenda, we have some requested presentations. We have requested presentations on our feasibility study with the PEPCO CAG, Mr. Ronald Lester. We also have a requested presentation from on regards to campaign finance programs from Natasha Alexander, and a update on the Langston Revitalization and Sustainability Plan by Broderick Spencer. Commissioners, I only see Broderick Spencer in the attendees list. Does anyone else see Ronald Lester and Natasha Alexander by any chance? If not, we'll let Mr. Spencer begin.
I don't.
We also
either
have
of them.
Councilmember Parker here, Commissioner Saucedo Guzman.
Yes, he'll be presenting after Mr. Spencer.
Okay, just wanted to make sure we remembered that he was
Added to the agenda. Thank you. If you can make that addition right now while we're promoting Mr. Spencer to a panelist.
I can.
Perfect.
If the council member has any time constraints, perhaps he can drop that in the chat or let us know.
I do. I was under the impression that I would share at 8:10. I'm happy to.
If you're under a time constraint due to I'm sorry, Mr. Councilmember, due to the other two folks not appearing tonight, we can allow you to present first because we'll be a little bit early. Are you available now, Councilmember?
Yes. Can you see me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I will keep it brief for that reason. I want to say and big greetings to you, ANC 5D. This is my first ANC meeting that I'm sharing at, and I'm over the next couple of months going to make it a priority to get to all of our ANCs. I wanted to come and provide updates on some of the work that my office is undertaking right now. You've already heard several of those updates from Oliver, but it is oversight season. Weekly, we are letting neighbors know which agencies are coming up. I'll be sure I'll ask Oliver to drop in the chat the schedule for the coming week. Strongly encourage Ward 5 to come out and share your concerns with agencies. Up until this point, we haven't had the strongest attendance at many of the hearings. And that is an opportunity for your feedback to be on the record, but also for you to reach out and follow up with council members. The budget letter, as Oliver mentioned, will go out this week. That is our attempt before the mayor releases her budget on the 22nd to document and share what our priorities are. We have heard from hundreds of neighbors at this point. We held a successful budget forum. We've had an open budget virtual forum. Many neighbors have called our office and emailed. You are free to do the same. It doesn't have to just be commissioners, although we welcome commissioners doing some of the legwork as well. Please share your feedback with us so we can make sure that we incorporate your concerns. As I shared at the budget forum, the budget letter is the first of several steps in this process. The mayor will release her budget on the 22nd. The budget then comes to the council. We then have another opportunity to advocate for Ward 5 interests. I will come back to you and say, please come testify, share with different committees around why we need to keep money for Cromell in the budget, why we need to make sure we expand funding for DPW to target Trinidad, et cetera, et cetera. And then lastly, the budget goes to the chairman, where he does his last minute mix up and then he punts it back to the council for a final vote. And so in all of those steps are opportunities for us to advocate on behalf of Ward 5, and the budget letter is the first step in that process. The last thing I would say here, I see it as a funnel. As we get closer to the final budget, the budget letter is probably going to be our broadest request. As we get closer to the final budget, our request will narrow as money is going to be tighter. So more to come on that. One thing I would flag today, there was an oversight hearing with Chancellor Farabee and DCPS over their school budgets. Schools will receive their budgets this week. As we are told, that is a week later than legally they were supposed to be released. The council passed legislation last year, the Schools First Budgeting Act, which essentially says that DCPS must hold flat, hold harmless, hold neutral, however you want to say it, school budgets from one year to the next. So what that means is if Wheatley, for instance, received hypothetically $10 million last year, they have to at least receive $10 million this year. As you know, schools in wards 5, 7, and 8 routinely receive budget cuts. While we hear from the executive that there are record investments in our schools, and many may be asking, how is that true? The truth of the matter is more money is going to our schools year after year, but that is also accounting for the rise in inflation, the rise in cost of living, and pay salary increases for our teachers and other folk at DCPS. And so while more money is going to DCPS, at the bottom line, that does not mean schools like Wheatley are getting more money. And in fact, many of our schools in Ward 5 are having to cut teachers and personnel. And so why am I sharing that? Because right now, what we are being told by DCPS is that they are not planning to honor the law. The council passed the law, which was the Schools First Budgeting Act. DCPS is saying essentially they are not going to honor that law. And it is on the council to hold them and our district accountable. And so I've talked with the chairman, and one of the things we are looking to do is to revamp the DC Public Schools budget when it comes to the council. We have the power to do that, should they not honor the law, to make sure that schools in wards 5, 7, and 8, especially, do not see budget cuts. I will share much more information in the weeks to come. We have not seen the budgets, and so when we get the budgets and see where the numbers lie, I'll be able to share more on that. Two other things. The Senior Advisory Committee, I strongly encourage commissioners on a call to inform neighbors. There are only 9 spots. These will be appointed at the pleasure of me, the council member. This is the first time we're doing it. And we're doing it because we want to center, and I want to center the needs of our seniors in our major decisions. That is both in terms of quality of living needs and interests, but also on legislation. And so that will be a 2-year term. And then in 2 years, we'll select another batch of seniors that will serve in this advisory capacity, supporting the work of the council member. And I hope in years to come, this will be a tradition that moves forward. We will make a decision on the first inaugural committee members by the end of the month, knock on wood. And we are requesting that you help us spread the word. We have distributed paper versions of the Senior Advisory Committee explanation to rec centers, libraries, senior facilities, and the wards. We also have the virtual form that was dropped in the chat. Seniors can also call the office and give a verbal explanation why they want to be a part of the Senior Advisory Committee, or they could shoot us an email. If you are finding neighbors or seniors are still having challenges with those means, please feel free to reach out to us. We want to make sure everyone is able to participate. The form, the paper version that is at the rec centers and libraries, senior facilities is not an application, but merely an explanation. And we're simply asking folk to share their name, their contact information, their address, and one brief explanation why they want to serve. So we try to keep it as simple and streamlined as possible so that as many people can participate as possible. And the last thing, I'm excited to share that we will have a Ward 5 Community Day on August 26th. I hope you mark your calendar. This is something that, as I understand, back in the good old days, Harry Thomas Sr. Used to do, and it was a tradition for many years. And I am determined to bring that tradition back. And it will be a day where we will have fun, games, activities, and the like. If you are interested in supporting, planning, volunteering, please reach out to me or Oliver. Happy to put you to work. But on that day, we normally do our Ward 5 back to school day and backpack giveaway and a lot of other things. We're going to have all of that on that day. Right now, we're looking at Turkey Thicket as it's central in the ward. There will be food, there will be games, there will be activities for all ages. We will have our backpack giveaway as well. That evening, we will also have, for the first time, our Ward 5 award ceremony. I'm really working to find a more creative name for it. So commissioners, help me out. But it will be an opportunity for us to recognize the many neighbors, not just elected folk, but many neighbors that are going over and beyond to help us build a strong, resilient community. And so we will, in the months ahead, let you know how you can nominate your neighbors, and that will be an opportunity for us to celebrate them. So I'm going to stop there. I don't know if there's time for questions, but I'm happy to answer any. If not, I am thrilled to be here with you. I'm intentional in coming here first because I want to support this community broadly as much as possible. And I committed to Commissioner Salceda Guzman that I would do that. And you all can hold me accountable to that.
Thank you, Councilmember, for your time tonight. And thank you for all that information. It's very refreshing to see a council member that knew so much and wanted to talk about so much, while also being excited. So I'll let the other commissioners ask questions. It's you, Commissioner Rhodes, if you have a question.
Okay, yeah, you was going in and out. I'm sorry.
Oh, I apologize. It's my internet.
Councilmember Parker, you mentioned about the budget for the school system, and it was required to be put in last week. Was it last week? So it's like a week late. Are there any consequences for it to continue to be late? And if so, what are they? And also, what is the age of the senior? What are the
advisory committee?
Yes.
Great question, Commissioner Rose. That's exactly what I asked the chairman. My question to the chairman was, well, what are we going to do about it? And it's my understanding that this is a normal practice, that some would suggest that the executive, when it's time that they don't want to do things, they just don't do it. And so where we have the greatest power is that we control the budget. And so regardless of what DCPS sends to the council in the mayor's budget, we have the authority to revamp it. And so we will take advantage of that. I also will hold a community meeting. Maybe it's going to be virtual when the mayor when DCPS submits its budget to educate neighbors about what are going to be the impacts on our community schools, because then I need you all to hold the mayor and the executive accountable. And so I hope that answers that. In terms of the other, it is 60 years of age plus. I know that's generous for the senior category, but we wanted to include as many people as possible.
Thank you.
Thank you. 5D03, again, friendly reminder for the public to drop a question in the Q&A, or you can raise your hand and we'll allow you 2 minutes to speak. A minute to speak, I'm sorry. 5D03, any questions?
No, I just wanted to say thank you so much for your dedication, Mr. Parker, and especially for caring about the school so much.
Thank you, Commissioner.
5D04, any questions?
No questions, but I just want to echo what others have said, that we really appreciate you being here. It's great to see you again, and I look forward to working with you both as a commissioner and as part of ANC 5D.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I'm 5D05. Councilmember, just a quick question. I noticed over the years during these budget talks, a lot of residents tend to ask for the same things, and whether we make improvement or we get something else, some of those things are blessings. But is there a way to like follow back up with residents on where these conversations kind of went, just to see what direction we're going in?
Yes. In short, I would say I'm about a month plus on the job, so I can commit moving forward to follow up. Understanding that may not have always happened. Right now, the budget letter is 10 plus pages. Just to give you a sense, there was a lot of overlap in what people are asking for. We are trying to be as specific as possible. So not just asking for affordable housing, but we want affordable housing in these communities and for these reasons. And what I'm committed to doing is having community engagement opportunities every step of the way, including once the budget is passed.
Thank you, Councilmember. 5D06.
Good evening, council member. I appreciate your attempts at outreach initially. We haven't been able to coordinate, but I certainly look forward to getting on your calendar and having some time to discuss at length issues that certainly pertain to 5D06, 5D as a whole, Ward
Yes.
5 and the city, but just a couple of quick bullets. So since we have you here tonight, the divisive park issue that I emailed you, I'm looking forward to response. If you have a meeting, I want to be included. I'm very clear that I support my constituents, and I was very clear, and I gave you detailed information in the message that I wrote regarding what our concerns are for that space on 19th and L. Regarding DPW,
if I could just interject, sorry, Commissioner,
Go ahead.
on the record, I will get back to you. My apologies for not getting back sooner. It is oversight season, so I will tell you I haven't been on top of my email as I would like, but I will get back.
Well, you haven't eroded your goodwill yet. So we're, the door is still open. So I look forward to holding you accountable. Regarding DPW, the citizens don't ever need to hear that we're focusing on leaf season, so we can't focus on an alley. And we shouldn't, I shouldn't have to send multiple messages regarding basic issues like bringing your super can in and, cleaning up. We have a law. The law says the residents, property owners are responsible for cleaning the perimeter of their property. We don't put trash on our property, but we have a responsibility to pick it up. So when that doesn't happen, we have the enforcement mechanism, which is, it's not popular, but it's there for a reason. And DPW needs to be proactive about not only cleaning areas with high crime, but cleaning the city as a whole, because where there is trash, there is crime. Regarding the police budget, we are down to 3,300 and I think 54 officers. And the council has authorized in the past 4,200. And we've made it clear that if we want the police presence that we need throughout the city to make sure that, we're properly protected, we need more officers. My community is not in favor of that whole violence interrupter funding. It's not research-based. It's been rife with problems. And that's money that can be reprogrammed. So we'll be talking about that. So these are just some of the highlights. I look forward to coordinating with Mr. Stout so that I can get on your calendar sooner rather than later so that we.
And I'm going to say, my apologies for interrupting. I'm going to suggest that we connect before Friday. So before the budget letter comes out, we can have an opportunity to connect.
That works for me.
5D07. Any questions?
Sure. Council member, thank you so much for being here tonight. Really appreciate us being your first stop on your tour. So it means a lot to me. Just to kind of change and shift gears away from the budget for just a moment, I'd like to really get with you and try to get on your calendar with regards to bad actors as it relates to LLCs and construction that's taking place in our, specifically here in 5D07, but all across 5D. I've had a meeting with members of Councilmember McDuffie's team and also with the AG recently, but I would like to really get you up to speed on some of the things that's going on. And even I believe we talked briefly about there's one particular building, 1835 H Street Northeast, that has been under construction since 2017. And this building has had a lot of problems here in our district. And so at some point, I'd like to get maybe with Oliver or even with you just to kind of maybe get you out to see the building, but certainly to bring you up to speed on several construction properties that are considered bad actors through their operations with the dealings in the city. And so if I can get on your calendar and we can have some time, I really appreciate that.
I will follow up after this with you and Commissioner Henderson to find some time.
Councilmember Parker, one more issue. The fire last night displaced
Yes.
seven of your constituents to be, and the mayor's office is working with me. And certainly if you have any resources, a family of 4, they need food and, they need everything. So
what I would say, Oliver is in touch with the family. We are in the process of establishing our constituent services fund. So we don't quite have that yet, but what I am committed to doing is if there is a GoFundMe for that family in my personal capacity, Smile, I am willing to share it to help raise funds to support that family.
Thank you.
Yes.
And I visited the site earlier this morning. I've been in contact with the families. I've actually met some of the victims that were actually there. And we are going to be giving our support and giving services to them.
Very good. Glad to hear it.
Okay, moving again to the commissioners, 5D09. Any question? I'm sorry, 5D08.
Tried to skip over me.
Yeah.
Good to see you, Councilmember Parker. I appreciate you coming. I wanted to put a plug in for your weekly newsletter for folks who want to engage with the office. I find it to be a great resource. So I encourage folks to sign up to get the newsletter from Councilmember Parker if you're interested to hear a bit about goings on in the council office. And then we are looking forward to talking a bit more with you on Thursday about resident interests in a park here in Carver-Langston. I think it's, despite other characterizations, it's not a nefarious process. It's one we're eager to engage in, and it's something that's been very much led by residents. And my ask for you in regard to the ANC is to give great weight to recommendations that come from ANC 5D as a whole, and acknowledging that as individual commissioners.
Yes, I can assure you that I plan to do that.
Thank you.
And that is why I'm here first, and I will be here regularly.
That's great.
What time is that meeting on Thursday?
It's at 7 p.m. and you have received the meeting details.
I'm asking you again because I have not. So where is it?
Commissioner Henderson, it's on Zoom. I emailed you and the rest of the members of the commission all the meeting details.
Well, for the record, I had access to my
proceeding
ANC.
with the meeting.
Excuse me, I want to speak.
Thank you. Yes, Commissioner Blacknell, you have opportunity to speak. We apologize for the interruption.
Thank you.
I think you should.
Hi, Mr. Parker. This is Commissioner Blacknell. I would like to talk to you in reference to Spingarn.
Okay.
Spingarn has been set on fire, vandalized. Now they're painting on the outside of the walls and everything. The Department of General Service is really not doing their best, Mr. Parker, to secure that school.
And I know this has been an ongoing issue. What is the we could connect offline, but
yeah,
it's about safely securing the school, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, they have not been doing it. I have been taking time off of my job, using my vacation time, walking around their school and everything.
Okay.
I've been personally walking around the school.
I will follow. I'm adding a note to follow up with you as well.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner. Moving forward to public questions, we have one from Joel Smith, council member. Councilman Parker, can you let us know if you support an increase to the MPD budget to increase the number of officers in Ward 5?
That is a complicated question. I'll answer it this way. We don't know how many officers that we need in the district. I know there is a number that has been touted. There was a call for the auditor to officially conduct research around that. We are still waiting for that specific number. In terms of the MPD budget, I would say I do not support spending more money, and I'll tell you why. I think we need a balanced approach. I think we need MPD to have the resources that it needs, but it also has more than enough resources. And in fact, we are spending millions of dollars in overtime payments to MPD. I would encourage neighbors to check out that report, and as well as an article that recently came out that suggested that there is just a lack of accountability to the numbers that are being reported. And so all that to say, across the budget, not just with MPD, I think we need to spend our money smarter. And so with a $20 billion budget, I just find it hard to believe that we're regularly talking about cutting our school budgets, our rec budgets. We have communities like many of yours that are without trash cans. Neighbors are begging for basic city services. And so when we're talking about MPD is already receiving $500 million, $500+ billion, no, I don't think they need more money. That is not to say that I don't want them to have the resources that they need to be successful. I think across our government, we need to look to spend money smarter, cut wasteful spending, shrink agencies. I just was giving the chancellor at DCPS a hard time. I think we need less money going to central office and more money going to our schools and our kids and our teachers. And so I hope that does justice where my focus will be in this budget. But just giving more money for the sake of giving more money, I don't buy that.
Thank you, Councilmember. And then I'll leave the final question from one of our very active seniors here in 5D, Miss Juanita Diggs. Ms. Diggs, you have the ability to unmute yourself and ask a question.
Hi, yes. Actually, I just wanted to say to Councilmember Parker, thank you so much for being our council member. I'm wanting to know with the school situation, why is it we keep hiring chancellors that don't seem to be about our children? Not real sure about that. And glad to hear that you're going to have a senior advisory council. I think I might opt for that. Also, I spoke to Mr. Stout last week, very effective, very efficient young man on your team. And I am all for Mr. May's request for DPR. So I'm living at 21st and Maryland Avenue, grew up in Carver Terrace, used to have to go to Rosedale, got my junior lifeguard license from there. It would have been nice. In fact, what we had was Spingarn's gym was our rec center. DPR used that as a rec center in the 60s and late 50s. But it would be wonderful for us to have Park and Rec up here for our kids. So thank you so much for what you're doing.
It is great to hear from you, Ms. Diggs. I will tell you that your feedback means a lot to me, and I'm great to get your feedback about the work of the office. I want to be fair to the chancellor, and I'll say it this way. The chancellor responsibility is with the chancellor. The buck stops with the head of the agency. At the same time, we know with mayoral control, the chancellor is not really the one calling the shots. And so while he is often one that's put out to be skewered by the council and others, it's really coming from the mayor and the deputy mayor's office. And it begs the question, are we okay with the executive office just picking and choosing which laws they are going to abide by? I'm not okay with that. Whether or not they agree with it, the law is the law. And so again, I plan to engage in the coming weeks with neighbors to educate folk about what's going on, because a large part of what is happening is that, yeah, there's a subset of folk that are going to watch the DCPS hearing and come down to the Wilson building to testify, but there are many, many more that are not going to do that, and they are oblivious to what is happening around them, and it's no fault of their own. They're living. And so we have to educate people, equip them, and make sure that people are held accountable and not allowed to get away with not following the law.
Well, it's good to have someone formerly on the school board in our corner. So I figure you must know you've got some inside information that the rest of us don't have. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Diggs.
Well, thank you, Councilmember Parker, for attending our meeting tonight. We'll be in contact. I'm sure you'll have some residents reaching out. And if you ever need to reach us, you know how to get a hold of us.
Thank you all.
Okay. moving forward with the agenda, we have one of our final presentations. It looks like our other presenters didn't make themselves available tonight. It's the Langston Revitalization and Sustainability Plan. Mr. Spencer, whenever you're ready, if you need to share your screen, feel free to let us know.
Great. Can you hear me? All right, give me 1 second.
Go.
Sorry, give me 1 second. And can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Great. Okay. Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you for your time. My name is Broderick Spencer. I'm with the DC Housing Authority. I think this is my third or fourth time presenting to the ANC, so we're very excited to come back and give an update on where we are with the project at Langston Terrace. Joining me tonight is Scott Archer from Buyer Blender Bell, one of the consultants working on this project. So I'll just jump right into it. The Langston Terrace Revitalization and Sustainability Plan, for us, community engagement has been a key focus to make this a successful plan. So we've been working with residents since last summer, basically getting their feedback on ways to both modernize Langston Terrace and improve the units. So making those up to modern standards, as well as improving the overall campus itself. So we've had 3 community-wide resident events. So this has been open both to Langston Terrace residents as well as neighborhood residents. And this has been also in addition to working with the resident council, going to some other holiday events. We've met with the resident advisory council. So this consists of resident leaders, service providers, ANC commissioners. Commissioner Blacknell has been involved since we've kicked this project off, as well as property management, basically getting all the people that we can, all the kind of groups and actors together for this project. So we've met with them over 6 times throughout this process. During the kickoff, we actually had 6 summer interns from Phelps High School helping us to get some information together, actually interviewing residents, getting their stories. So that was a really good experience. And this all amounted to a lot of feedback, ideas, and questions from residents throughout this process that helped us to shape this plan. So what we've heard, it was really important for us to make sure that we listen to residents and kind of were able to use their information and their feedback to drive this plan and to lead this plan. It was also important for us to make sure that residents saw how their feedback was being used throughout this planning process. So we continuously were able to come back to residents and say what we had heard from them and how that was impacting the plan. So a couple of things that we heard from the beginning up until now, safety and security is an area of concern. Accessibility is something that needs to be addressed. Community amenities and spaces for all ages are needed. Langston Terrace, population-wise, is one of our more senior properties. So we need to make sure that as we're planning long-term, we can plan for making sure our seniors can age well in place. And pride for Langston Terrace is that something that should be maintained and celebrated. I will now hand off to Scott to go through some of the aspects of the plan, and then and later on.
Since we only have a few minutes, we won't get into a ton of detail, but we're happy to answer any questions that anyone has. As Broderick mentioned, accessibility was a huge concern by residents on campus, as well as DCHA, in making their properties more accessible for all types of residents. And so we're both looking at units themselves and how to make them more accessible, which includes both interior and exterior improvements, as well as a whole bunch of different site upgrades to make the area more accessible. We're also looking at how to make units more comfortable, including new heating and cooling that can be individually controlled within the unit, better windows, better insulation on the exterior walls. And all of this goes to making the indoor air healthier and safer for residents, but also contributing to a healthier planet as well. We're looking at community spaces across the campus, and part of the challenge today is many of the community spaces are in basements and are not accessible. So thinking about how to find new community spaces, maybe potentially building a few new pavilions, That could be all different types of facilities, including community rooms, maybe even a community room in partnership with DPR at the power plant, distributed laundry, and many others. And then I won't get into a lot of detail here, but a lot of our effort has gone into rethinking what the landscape could be. We've heard so many comments from residents and have been really great comments about how to scale down certain types of spaces, how to create more private spaces for residents in their fronts and backyards, how to create a street on 24th Street that could be partially closed down for community block parties. Lots of different things, all while trying to make it more safe, more accessible, and more for the residents of Langston, as well as the community at large.
So I just wanted to give, we wanted to give kind of a sense of where we are in this process. So as we mentioned, we had a number of events. We had the most recent one a couple of weeks ago in February, just to have residents give us feedback and prioritize some of the ideas moving forward. As we're moving forward in this planning effort that's wrapping up in early spring, we will be going into the planned funding and implementation phase. And we also have a number of projects, DCHA projects still occurring on site as well. And in terms of next steps, as this planning effort is again ending in the spring, we will be moving into the funding and procurement phase. So that will be working to identify pieces of the plan that we can actually look to have funded this year that can go to the budget cycle. And then we are currently developing a timeline for procurement to bring on a developer. And once that is underway and once the developer is selected, we can then implement the plan based on the residents' feedback and kind of that they helped have a hand in developing to actually implement the renovations and upgrades that have been identified. And as we go forward, we want to make sure that residents continue to stay informed and engaged throughout this process and the next steps. So I can provide all this information for residents as well, but we want to make sure that residents know that they can find information at dchousing.org under the Langston Terrace page, and also can email engage DCHA at dchousing.org for any questions or comments.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Spencer.
Mm-hmm.
Starting, we'll allow the commission to ask questions. 5D02, any questions for the presenters?
Just a small question. The community engagement.
Yes.
How much of the ideas and suggestions from the community will you be implementing in the plan? You might have said it, and I probably missed it, but.
So so we kind of wanted to make sure, as I said, that residents basically led this planning effort. So the way that these larger events were basically held was we kind of came to residents, gathered their initial ideas, then we kind of synthesized that, started creating some ideas, went to the residents, kind of checked with them to make sure that we were going on the right track, or if we needed to pivot. And kind of that was kind of the ebb and flow of making sure that, we had residents, making sure that their feedback was driving this process. The event that we had in February was basically taking all the feedback that we've heard and the feedback from working with the RAC and presenting I'd say 95% realized plan, and kind of, getting a gut check, seeing if the residents kind of really agree with this, if they have any kind of last minute tweaks that they think we should make. It was important for us to make sure that we didn't just come to the residents and have a plan and be like, this is it. We wanted to make sure they had at least one more opportunity to kind of get some input. So that's what that February event was. But I'd say all aspects, honestly, of this plan have been driven by resident feedback and making sure that their values and concerns are met with the final product.
That's awesome. What about jobs for the community?
Mm-hmm. So I'd say that we looked at, I think as Scott was saying, different spaces for community uses. So I think that's definitely something that residents brought up, is looking at either, technical training, kind of a space to actually, have a resident kind of business incubator. We have programs through DCHA that can actually support residents that are trying to start their own business. So residents definitely had those ideas, and we were kind of working with them to figure out where that makes sense. And so that's some of the uses that Scott was talking about on this map. We're showing where we can actually begin to actually locate those uses on site. So looking at along Binning Road, probably making more sense for those kind of more public facing uses. And then the smaller kind of more community focused Langston Terrace focus uses more kind of in towards the campus, and also looking at partnership opportunities. So looking if we can work with DCPS, DPR, as Scott mentioned, having conversation with Spingarn and DCIA of how we can kind of have this plan impacting, working with the residents of Langston Terrace and the larger community itself.
And how would you the power plant and the environmental issues there?
So we definitely understand that the power plant has, kind of its use and its kind of age. We've gone through the environmental kind of assessment, and that's still something that will be ongoing too. So none of these changes are going to happen next year. This is kind of a long-term plan. So anything that would go into the power plant would have to, be after thorough cleaning and kind of making sure it's structurally secure, all of that. So we've already started that process on our end of making sure that whatever goes into the power plant, making sure the building is safe, both structurally and environmentally, and then working with residents to figure out once that happens, what we can actually put into that location.
Thank you.
Okay, 5D03, any questions?
It sounds like a lot of things that you're really doing things that are really good. I am kind of like shocked when I saw, there's mold and other very serious repair issues, and I don't know how long that's been there, but it would seem to me that I hope nobody's living in the apartments that have mold now, because that's a very serious health issue. And it sounds like some of the other repair issues are very serious. And I'm just wondering why they could not have been, why that, needs to wait until spring, why that, a serious issue like that wasn't taken care of right away.
So that the mold issue, kind of those like immediate life safety concerns, those are all projects that we are already underway. And that was what I was talking about when, this project is working alongside other projects at the property. So in terms of the life safety kind of issues that residents and that you mentioned, we've already kind of have projects addressing that. This is more of a long-term planning effort, looking at also kind of once we get to the point where all of these issues are taken care of, how can we look to have residents live in a more modern unit, more accessible unit, more sustainable unit. So this is definitely something that's kind of a longer term plan, but we are addressing those are more immediate concerns currently.
Yeah, so is most of the mold apartments being addressed right now?
My understanding is that all of the environmental issues have been addressed. We've already, because of the vacancies we have on the property, we've been able to relocate residents to kind of make sure they're not in a unit that has any kind of health and safety issue. But there has been, I believe it was early last year when we started working on those environmental and health and safety units. So yes, that has been, it continues to be addressed, but that has already been something we've been working on.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate you doing, definitely taking care of the mold immediately and the other serious issues. Thank you.
Of course.
Okay, 5D04, any questions?
No questions. Thanks.
Okay, no direct questions from me. 5D06.
Mr. Spencer, would you provide your phone number and just secondarily, what is the timeline for having residents move back into the units?
So if you're talking about the planning work versus we are currently doing make ready work, so this is more immediate kind of unit renovations. So that process has begun, I believe, now through the summer and into the fall. This process would be, like I said, we're still working on the timeline, but our intention and our goal would be to make sure that we have residents relocating on site during this work, because again, we have a high number of vacancies. So we still have to finalize that kind of timeline of when the planning kind of implementation piece happens.
And your phone number?
And I can provide my phone number and contact info directly to you after this meeting. So I can actually just put it in the chat right now if that's easier.
Okay.
If you're going to put in the chat, can you just say it?
I can send you my contact and phone number over the chat. Yes, I can
Okay.
provide that.
Thank you, sir. 5D07, any questions?
No questions.
5D08, any questions?
Just a request, Mr. Spencer, if you could send this slide deck to us.
Of course.
And Commissioner Blacknell, any questions from you?
Yes. Hey, Mr. Spencer, how are you doing, sir?
Good. How are you doing, Commissioner Blacknell?
Fine, and you, sir. I just wanted to answer some of the questions that some of the ANC commissioners would like to know in reference to Langston. Langston is still going under renovation. They're moving residents in different areas of Langston. The mold situation has been taken care of. They have been constantly moving residents out while they're doing renovations and everything. So I just want to piggyback on that. Now that power plant is part of housing and everything. They're working and getting that cleaned up and everything.
Yes, and also because Langston Terrace is a historic property, none of the work that would be happening would be changing kind of the existing facade of the building. So no buildings would be demolished. The existing kind of like face of the buildings would be the same. And we will have to work with SHPO once this plan is actually going into implementation and building phase. But we've already started those conversations with SHPO, and we wanted to make sure that they were at least aware of what we've been working on. So they've also been involved in this process. And yes, I can also provide my email to the general group if I figure out how to do that.
Feel free to drop it in the Q&A, your contact information, and that'll be the best ability for folks to get there. Okay. I do not see any questions from the public. I don't see any questions in the Q&A. And all the commissioners asked their question. Mr. Spencer and was it Archie, I believe. Thank you for coming out tonight. We appreciate the presentation, and the secretary will follow up with those slides if you can send them his way.
Perfect. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you. If the folks that are presenting on the PUD tonight can raise their hand so I can elevate you to panelists, we'll be proceeding with our final, some of our final items of today, our voting action items, which starts with this PUD and then with Commissioner May's letter.
And Commissioner Saucedo Guzman, if I may just drop a reminder right here that because of my federal job, I'm not allowed to consider issues involving zoning or housing. So I will just go on mute and stop my video and take no part in this presentation or the vote.
Thank you, Commissioner. And this is in Commissioner Bernice Blacknell's SMD. So I'll allow, once questions come up, I'll allow the commissioner to be the first to ask questions since the voting action item. Okay, whenever you're all ready, you can go ahead and take the lead.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, commissioners. We will be as brief as we can. As you all likely remember, we were before the ANC last month to discuss this project. We have a final update to provide tonight, going through a few updates as well as reminding the commission some of the updates that we had previously made to this PUD project. And our hearing is this Thursday before the Zoning Commission. And so we're going to provide those updates. We have a presentation to share with the final project design. And we wanted to thank you all. We've presented to this ANC as well as to the previous commissioners numerous times, and we really appreciate all of the time that you all, and especially Commissioner Blacknell, have spent with our team working through this project. And we also appreciate the time that the neighbors have spent. And we have been able to work with them, I think, in a very collaborative way. And they, two of the neighbors who had filed for party status in opposition earlier today filed a letter changing their position from opposition to support because of the changes that we made, which were done in dialogue with them as well as with the ANC. So we really do appreciate the time that the community has taken to work with us through this process. So I will turn it over to Peter with the applicant team, and we will briefly walk through our updates.
Thank you, Megan. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for having us back here. As Megan mentioned, I'll try to be brief. Just as a reminder, we are 2 lots, 2225 and 2229. We've combined them into 1 lot. Toward the end of M Street and where M Street and Maryland Avenue intersect and immediately adjacent to the National Park Service kind of triangular lot there. We've been in front of you all several times, I'll go through some of the feedback that we've gotten and our responsiveness to that feedback. Some of it has been around massing, height, just general size of the project. So as Rob and his team will go through in more detail, we've reduced the height by almost 15 feet. We're now down at 7 stories with a penthouse. We've also decreased the unit count from 120 down to 92. And we've, in doing so, increased the unit size. I know that there was some concern, given that this is a senior affordable building, that folks wanted to make sure that there was ample size in the units. And so we're now up close to or above 600 square feet per unit on average. And we've eliminated almost all of our studios, I think, except for 4. One of the bigger updates since the last time we were before you is that we reworked the rear where our parking is. And between a combination of bringing the number of units down and that reconfiguration, we've added a couple of parking spaces in the back. We're now no longer requesting relief for parking. With that said, we are still very committed to working, if the community and the ANC would like us to, with DDOT to unlock some of those spaces along M Street where there are currently no parking signs. And if there are other initiatives that we can champion for you all, we're happy to do that. We're also continuing to work with the National Park Service, the parcel immediately to our east, to see if we can work with them to improve that parcel and make it a little bit more friendly to the neighborhood. So that will be a long process, but we're continuing to be in discussions with them, and we'll continue to move that forward. So again, we appreciate you all being working with us and giving us feedback. And as Megan said, we'll be before the Zoning Commission this Thursday. And with that, I'll hand it over to Rob to go through some of the other changes that we've made and talk about the architecturals of the project.
Great, thank you, Peter. And good evening, everyone. My name is Rob McLennan. I'm with the architectural firm of ZDS Architecture and Interiors. We are the design architect of the project. As Peter's already mentioned, this slide really talks about the two levels of revisions. The first is the revision to the original submission. And then the second box is the changes we made since we were in front of you last month. I think Peter's already talked about most of these. I will just add we have replaced the exterior insulation finish system, or EFIS, with stucco at all of the building. So that's one major change we've made. And then also we'd already changed the unit layout on the meeting on January 10th, but we hadn't had a chance to really go back and revise the facade to reflect that interior change. So we've done that. So you'll see that in the renderings that we prepared. And then finally, we had some windows at risk on the west facade, and some of the neighbors directly to the west really didn't want those windows. And so we've removed those from the west facade. So I'll quickly walk you through the plans. The plans really are identical for the most part to what you saw. Oh, excuse me, I meant to mention this. Peter talked about what we've been doing with the units. We did get some feedback about the amount of studios we had. So you can see when we had 120 units, almost half of those were studios with equal amount of 1-bedrooms and some 2-bedrooms. Now we've gone almost entirely away from studios, only 4 kind of unique units that exist mostly in sort of lower level areas. The 1-bedroom count is now 71 units and the 2-bedroom count is 17. That's the makeup of the 32 units. And that's what's led directly to the increase in the average unit size from 520 square feet to now 600 square feet. I won't spend too much time on the plan. This is the basement plan. Just as a reminder, the light blue units are 2-bedroom, the darker blue are 1-bedroom, and then the studios are still green. This is our first floor plan. You can see we still have a lobby here. We're able to eliminate the fire command and control center, so we'll have to determine what to do with that additional space. Right now, it's a larger package room. This shows also the revised parking along the alley that did allow us by changing it to sort of have a drive aisle that comes inward into the site. We're able to get a few more spaces into the rear of the building without significantly adding cost to the building. We also we had a ramping system here to get down to the first floor. Now we're doing that with a door that's directly onto the alley that takes you to either the backside of the elevator here if you need that, or through stairs to get to the lower level. And then here's our loading dock, as we mentioned before, entirely enclosed loading dock that leads directly to the recycling and trash areas. Typical floor plan here, you can see primarily 1-bedrooms with three 2-bedrooms at the rear of the building. This shows the penthouse area. This has not changed. The rooftop has not changed either. Some renderings. This shows the original 8-story scheme. So again, this was the full 88 feet of height. We have reduced the floor to floor by 8 inches per floor, and then we've eliminated the 8th floor to get the proposed design now. Here, this actually also shows the redesign of the facade. We had 5 bays in the original design. Now we're at 4 bays, which reflects the 4 units that are along that front facade. Front facade here, the original 8-story, the revised 7-story. Front entrance has not changed. This is looking west from the NPS parcel. This is the original 8-story scenario. And here's the 7-story we're proposing today. And then finally, the only change here has been this, what was the ephes, which was the white material that really is only on the rear facade, has now been completely changed to stucco. The other materiality has stayed the same.
Okay,
With that, I'll turn it over to Will. Unless there's any questions, I'll turn it over to Will with Grove Slade to go over parking and transportation.
okay, we're going over our minutes. We're going over our time.
I'll go quickly through this.
Thank you.
So as was just mentioned, this just sort of shows a breakdown of the timeline here. So the units have been reduced down to 92 units. What that means is the zoning requirement is now 16 spaces. With the 3 additional spaces we've picked up, if we provide 2 of those as car share spaces, then we will meet the zoning requirement for parking. We will not need parking relief anymore. We can go to the next slide. This just shows that breakdown, so we don't need to dwell on this. We can go to the next slide. Okay, so just going back to parking, even though we're meeting zoning parking now, we're not requesting relief, all of our previous commitments still stand. We're happy to work with the community. If it's something the community wants, we're happy to sort of help engage DDOT to seek out RPP restrictions along M Street as sort of a plan ahead for the future opening of the Arboretum, and whether or not that's going to, bring people from outside of the ward or from elsewhere. And RPP or resident-only parking would potentially be a mitigating factor to sort of help eliminate that. So if the community wants that, if the ANC wants to vote a resolution for that, we'd be happy to make those connections at DDOT and help push that forward. Additionally, there's a section along, we don't need to, you can go on to the next slide, but there's a section along M Street, as was mentioned, at that northeast corner that is currently signed for no parking. We could pick up about 10 to 12 parking spaces there. We'd be happy to pursue that at the public space permitting process to add some more parking for the block. And with that, I will hand it over. Peter?
And this is just a slide talking about community input and our responses. And with that, I will cede my time to the group to ask questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Blacknell, you are the commissioner of this single member district. Do you have any questions directly for the presenters? Commissioner Blacknell, you're muted if, oh, there you go. Thank you. Do you have any questions, Commissioner Blacknell? If not, we'll come back to you. We'll come back to you, Commissioner Blacknell. Going down roll call, 5D02, any questions for the presenters today?
The only question I have is the community engagement. Have you all been getting input, meaningful input from the community? And is this why the changes were made?
Yes, thank you for asking, Commissioner Rhodes. So yeah, we've had 14 meetings with different groups, ANC being one of them. As Megan mentioned, we've had several discussions with our neighbors immediately to the west of our property. And I think that's part of what has, altered our designs here, is just listening to the feedback that we got, particularly about the height, the size, and being, more in context with the neighborhood.
Thank you.
5D03, any questions?
No, thank you.
And 5D04 is abstaining from this conversation. 5D05, that is me. I see that you all have implemented some of the suggestions that the ANC has been making requests for late in the project, but you all did move forward on some of that stuff. I did have one question that I do want to just elevate from one of the residents. Will we be viewing the proposed unit interior renderings? This will be context on what approximately 600 square feet looks like for a bedroom.
So I can just briefly note, excuse me, that at this phase with the design before the zoning commission, we don't have interior layouts. That's not something that the zoning commission looks at. And so we have to kind of get the base massing put together before we go in for that process. So that's something that would be later on in the design process. We would have those kind of interior layout concepts as the building gets closer to lease up.
Okay, thank you. 5D06.
Thank you for the changes that you've made in response to the comments you've received. I believe at the January meeting, Commissioner McCollum and myself expressed some concerns regarding that tower element. I see that even though you've lowered the building height, which is commendable, that tower element still, I think it should be recessed, more flush and more monochromatic, or in line with the overall building, the massing of the building, because that red jutting element, it looks dated. And I said the same thing at the last meeting, and that has not changed. So are you going to go back and rework that tower element?
So Commissioner Henderson, we talked about this in a meeting, and I'd love to have Rob and his team have been really thoughtful about the design, and we didn't get an opportunity at the last meeting to have him talk through that. But at least I'd like him to have the opportunity to do that, because he's tried to incorporate the Arboretum and some neighborhood attributes into the design. And personally, I like it. I mean, obviously everybody has a different perspective, right? Nothing's going to make everybody happy, but Rob, do you mind just taking 2 minutes and talking us through how you all got here?
Yeah, thanks, Peter. And I'll be brief. When I was working with my team, we kept talking about that we are adjacent to the Arboretum. What can we do to reflect that? And we were looking at all kinds of things, from green walls to you name it. And we really, came across, we started looking at different types of flora and fauna that were indigenous to the Arboretum. And we started looking at birds, and then we started looking at the color patterns of birds. And we actually came up with a mourning dove, and we looked at the coloration of the mourning dove. And that is what we used to select the colors of the building. So to some extent, and the red is actually the leg color of the mourning dove is what we use for the red of the entry feature. And then with that said, the sort of coloration here is basically the brown, which represents sort of the earth, moving toward the green, which represents the trees, and then finally to the blue, which represents more of the sky. So obviously not everyone, you feel that this does not work, but that is the rationale behind the coloration of the building.
Well, I didn't really need an explanation of that. I mean, it's presented and it's reflective of the aesthetics, of the architect. The issue is you said at the last meeting that you were willing to rework the tower element so that it is flush with the building and not jutting forward. That hasn't happened. So are you saying now that you are not willing to make that tower element recessive and flush with the building?
I think that, go ahead, Mike.
Peter.
I don't remember. I'm sorry, Commissioner Henderson. I don't remember exactly I thought it was more a coloration
I can't hear you.
question. And so I think if the feedback,
It's both. It's a color issue and a projecting issue.
right, and I'd suggest, and maybe Megan can help too, is if this is an issue that the ANC wants to vote on and put this feedback into that constructive document, that
So you're not taking individual concerns.
I mean, we certainly
You're
are
just looking at what the commission says.
Well, I believe that they're going to give us feedback as well. And so I'm wondering if there's a way that we could incorporate all of the feedback together. Part of it is I don't want to go one direction and then they say, well, we don't like that direction. And then we kind of get back into this back and forth. And so I think if you provide—
I'm sorry, do you need any relief from zoning?
Yes, that's why we're here. Yes.
Okay, well, then if you're not open to hearing what my concerns are, I'll just share it, with the BZA.
Commissioner Henderson, I'll just say that the space that's in that tower does allow this corner unit to be successful, and that if we reduce that, it does reduce the amount of area we're proposing. I also, again, I'll defend my design if I can without being, I'm not trying to be objectionable, but we do feel that the projection, which is a typical DC projection into public space, is a very typical way in the District of Columbia to mark an entrance. And so that's our rationale for that projection.
Okay, 5D07, any questions?
I do not have any questions. I do want to say that I really do share the same sentiments with Commissioner Henderson. And so not to beat a dead horse, I don't want to just really get on that bandwagon again, but I do share those sentiments. And I believe that we asked last time for there to also be two renderings, one that was higher and one where you had actually taken the building down. A story as well. And I think that when we left that meeting, we were told that there will be two different renderings provided, but it looks like we fell short of that request being met or that promise being met. So no new question, but I will say that I'm not pleased with where we are with this as of tonight.
Okay, thank you. Going back to Commissioner Bernice Blacknell, one of the questions that, or the concerns that Commissioner Blacknell had for her residents was what measures would be taken if this project was to move forward to prevent it from becoming a nuisance property on the block. I don't know how many projects you all as developers have in ANC 5D or here in South Ward 5, but we're seeing an extreme high level amounts of properties that are becoming redeveloped that become problematic for the neighborhood, whether they're sites that eventually become squatter sites or sites that eventually become large targets for my brothers and sisters in the Latino community that work in constructing these sites. what measures would be taken to ensure that safety is always met and it's properly taken care of?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that it's probably true on multiple phases. So first phase, where we are right now, there are currently 2 vacant buildings. We purchased both buildings vacant. And so, we'd like to move as quickly as possible through the entitlement process to make sure that we can start, building a new building that will have residents, and that will provide, more, security for that area. We've also, our team has been very active with our immediate neighbors and responding to any sort of issues at the properties. We just put up some new fencing this weekend, and we'll continue to work with neighbors if there's any issues with the current properties. Then in terms of, construction, the biggest thing we can do is actively manage it. So we'll, our team will be involved, but we'll also hire a construction management team to make sure, all the OSHA regulations are followed, and really using a best in class, a general contractor. We're, currently talking with Hamill Builders. They're a fantastic, large general contractor. We've worked with them on multiple projects in the past, and know that they'll do an exceptional job. And then after the building is complete, I think the best thing we can do is hire a property management firm that has expertise in particularly, senior and affordable housing, and that will ensure that the property is managed in the right way. And we'll obviously be there to asset manage and be involved once the building is occupied and there are residents.
Thank you. Final question, Commissioner May.
I think you skipped over me again, Commissioner Saucedo Guzman.
Bernice got back with the question I had to ask.
That's okay. No worries.
No, he can go ahead, because I have a letter that was emailed to me yesterday in reference to the project, so he can go ahead.
Okay. So just briefly, I just wanted to ask. I know that a minute ago it was referred to that you all are asking for zoning relief for the project. I wondered if you could just tell us, if you weren't in a hypothetical world, if you didn't have zoning relief, what could you build by right on this property? Would it be something comparable, or would it be something completely different?
Maybe Megan can help with, with that answer.
Sure.
And before Megan answers, I'll tell you why I'm asking the question instead of being mysterious. I'm asking for the benefit of my fellow commissioners in the community, because I understand there are concerns about this project, but I also know that if you don't get the support you need and you're unable to move forward, eventually something may be built by right, and we may not have any opportunity to weigh in. And there are other projects in our community that are being built by right without input from the ANC. So that was why I was asking, and I do appreciate your answer, Megan.
Thank you. So I will say we're going through the PUD process. And as part of that, we would be increasing the heightened density that are allowed over what would currently be allowed as a matter of right. So a project like this, and I will let Peter and Marcus on our team speak to this, a project like this with all affordable senior housing, I don't believe would be economical on a site of this size if we weren't able to go through the PUD process to have that additional height and density, because of the value per square foot of land that you need in order to get financing for all affordable senior housing. So going through the PUD process is what would allow us to do that. If we weren't to go through the PUD process, we would only be able to build within the existing envelope, which would allow for a multifamily building that would likely be just kind of a standard apartment building that wouldn't require going through any kind of zoning relief process. But I don't see without the PUD process how it could be something like an all affordable senior housing project.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Commissioner Blacknell, you have the last question. We're past on time, so I request you be brief.
Okay. Yes. I received an email on yesterday from the neighbors down there on M Street. They are in support of this project because of they they approved the updated plans for this project. So they would like for us to support this project. Again, the concern was to ensure that property will be protected and secure so it will become a nuisance property. And they also expressed some concern when the property is demolished, will they be relocated? Because one of the neighbors has a 2-year-old son that has asthma and everything. And those are the only two concerns that they have. Other than that, they would like 5D ANC commissioners to go ahead and support the project.
I'd like to request that those letters be made available to the commission.
Where actually the letter would sit directly to me in the chair. Now it's up to the chair if he wants to share it with you all. But I'm going by what my constituents say.
Okay.
Again, make the letters available to the commission.
And
Okay, I see
again,
that we have one hand raised. Commissioner Rhodes, I'm having internet issues. I don't know if you might need to take over the meeting just in case I drop out.
It's fine.
Since we're pressed on time, we fairly went over this on this topic. We'll move forward to move this as a voting action item. Commissioner Blacknell, how would you like us to proceed with this?
I would like to put a motion on the table that 5D ANC commissioners vote in support of this project.
Can Commissioner Blacknell get a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Rhodes. All in favor of support of this PUD, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Opposed?
Any abstentions?
Same.
Okay, the ayes have it. We'll move forward in support of this PUD project. To the developers tonight, we'll be in contact to get you that letter of support or any other material that you need from us. If there was any needed information that we did request during tonight's meeting, please be due diligent to provide that as quick as possible.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Megan, Peter, are they gone?
No,
Megan,
okay.
I will be getting contact with you, and Miss Rawlins would be getting in contact with you because they still want y'all to honor the 2 requests that she asked me to ask y'all tonight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, and she did send us a letter outlining those same things, and we've committed to continuing to work with them and addressing those concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Perfect. Okay. Commissioner May, if you want to share your screen to share the letter that you're proposing for the commission to vote on.
I would be happy to. I actually have a couple of slides just to kind of review things.
Oh, perfect. You have a presentation. Look at you.
I will also, Commissioner Sosity, I'm going to send you a link. If you want to share it in the chat, then any member of the public can also access the letter directly. But I'll share it once I'm done with the slides. Give me just 1 second here. Quite a few tabs with my note taking. Okay, I'm going to try to keep this quick. I know we're over time. It's 9:30. and folks are tired. So as we've discussed, you all should probably see my screen. I think my computer's a little overwhelmed, so just give it a second here. Okay, there's the slide deck on the screen here. I'm going to put a letter before the commission in support of 5D. This letter is requesting park space, specifically playground space in Carver Langston. And really the letter asks for two things. And again, everyone can see the full text of the letter in just a moment. It asks DPR to prioritize Carver Langston for assessment related to park space as part of its ready to play plan, which is newly released, still in draft form, but they're working toward finalizing it. Carver Langston is already identified in ready to play as, for lack of a better term, it's a park desert. And so they've already identified it as an area in need of additional green space. But they are choosing 2 neighborhoods per fiscal year for prioritization in their assessment. And so we're asking that they prioritize Carver Langston in FY24. Additionally, as part of the letter, we ask that they consider whether the publicly owned land at the corner of 19th and L Street in Carver Langston could be used as a park space. The concept put forward here is a playground, but it could also be other park space if it were determined by DPR that was a better suited option. A couple of quick things about 19th and L Street. It is, like I said, it's land owned by the District of Columbia. It's approximately 1,800 square feet. And that lot at the corner of 19th and L is actually partially publicly owned and partially privately owned. So the public portion of the property abuts 19th Street. The rest of the lot is owned by the owners of 1854 L Street. So the park space would only occupy a portion of the land. The letter we're putting forward doesn't ask the district to purchase any additional land. Currently, this space is, I'd characterize it as frequently blighted. It usually has illegally parked vehicles, often litter and illegal dumping as well. Other than that, it is just a lot with dirt and grass and one tree in the southeastern corner. For anyone who's not familiar with the area, this is a screenshot from the DC Geographic Information Service. Just shows you the parcel we're talking about, which is again at the corner of 19th and L there. And again, it's that triangular shaped lot that's outlined in a sort of blue or indigo color. And then we've got a couple photos of the lot. These are from Wednesday, the 8th, so they are current. As you can see, that corner, the corner that what we're looking at here, this photograph is taken from L Street looking north and a little bit east. So it shows 19th Street running along the east side of the lot. You can see that portion of the lot is indeed empty with the exception of the tree. And as I noted, there is a car parked there. That car is a car with Virginia tags parked on the lot. A couple more photographs from a different angle. Again, as you can see, this is city-owned land in the middle of Carver Langston, and it is not very well kept. It is covered in the right-hand photograph in quite a bit of litter and other detritus, and the land is in bad shape from the frequent use of this particular corner for car parking. And then finally, just a couple of notes about process. I think that it's important just to kind of characterize how this came to be. This is very much resident-led. I had residents come to me at the end of January and share that they had already been working on advocating with both outgoing Ward 5 Councilmember McDuffie and incoming Ward 5 Councilmember Parker and DPR for park space. I had the chance to connect with DPR to learn more about their processes, what this might look like. Those residents also testified at one of the council members' budget hearings. He mentioned that during his testimony tonight. Testimony is a wrong word, during his community update tonight. And so, in light of those conversations that I had with those residents, others, as well as, their persistent advocacy, I decided to bring this letter forward to Commission 5D because I think that it's a good idea. I think that it's land that is currently underutilized. And also I had a chance to review the ready to play plan, as I mentioned. The Carver Langston neighborhood is indeed quite far from any accessible DPR sites. Trinidad Rec and Joe Cole Park are both, they're both about a half a mile from the western edge of Carver Langston, but to get there, you have to cross 2 minor arterials, 17th Street and Bladensburg Road. So it can certainly be tough for folks. So I do think it's a good idea, which is why I decided to bring it forward for the commission to consider giving great weight. And again, this letter is, the letter is to the Department of Parks and Recreation. I will put the letter on the screen here. Give me 1 second to do that. I appreciate everyone's patience. see. Let's go. All right. More screen to share. So again, I believe Commissioner Sauceda Guzman, we would have been able to share this in any case in the chat, but this is the text of the letter. For anyone who's interested, it extends a little bit further onto the last page there, but most of that is the procedural stuff where it talks about putting it before the commission for a vote. So as you can see, everything that I already mentioned being included in the letter is contained here. We ask for prioritization for Carver Langston, and we speak to the lot at 19th and L specifically as a possibility. One final note, something I forgot to mention, when I spoke with DPR about their process, what they told me was that, considering Carver Langston for park space will not automatically mean that they choose this parcel. They will look at all available options in Carver Langston. They also told me that they'll look at potential innovative solutions. They mentioned the potential enhancements and redevelopment of Carver Terrace as a possibility, is thinking about where playground or park space may go in the neighborhood. But what is clear is that Carver Langston needs park space, and this can serve as a catalyst to help that assessment.
Perfect. So
that's the end of my presentation.
Thank you, Commissioner May. So we'll open up for discussion. 5D01 is vacant. 5D02.
I don't have any questions. I'm all for it.
Okay. 5D03.
It seems like it's not well used at all right now, and it's a troubled spot, and this looks like a really great idea to me. I know that Commissioner Henderson has said that people that she knows are not for it, but she said, you said that several times, Commissioner Henderson, but you never said why exactly. At least I didn't get that. I'd like to hear the reasons why they are not for this.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. 5D04, Commissioner Cobb.
I just want to say that I support this letter. As you might know, on the side, I'm working to help get some green space to Trinidad on a similarly small, odd lot in the neighborhood. So, I'm glad to see that there's a similar effort going this way in Carver Langston as well.
Okay, I'm 5D05. I support these efforts. Our previous commissioner there, Commissioner LaToya Moore, was actively engaged in doing the same and getting DPR to really provide green space to this area. She actually put together a great community event exactly in this area, and it was a huge success, and it was beautiful to see a lot of the residents come out, brown, black, and white, come out to this event, and it's a space that continuously should be used for the community in such regards. So hopefully DPR can move forward with providing green space in Carver Langston, as I see that this space specifically has been a nuisance for different reasons over the years. And I know community members such as Juanita Diggs mentioned, who was born and raised in that neighborhood, would really appreciate seeing something like this. So shout out to the natives that are putting these efforts together. 5D06.
In response to Commissioner Roblin's question, this site was used by drug dealers and dysfunctional people. They pulled sofas onto the property, they partied, they had large speakers. The neighborhood made it clear we didn't want this. I cleaned it up with the police, and I've received multiple applause throughout the community for making this space quiet, calm, and clean. I also had 3 signs placed on the parking that clearly say no parking. Now recently cars have begun to park there again, and I enforce having those cars ticketed. They receive $250 tickets, and it would be nice if Commissioner May would do the same. And recently someone has started throwing trash on the site. So the trash is, the site is not historically blighted. The Department of Public Works keeps the grass cut and they keep it clean. We use the site as is for movie night. The site was previously planted as a garden, and individuals who are still in the community stole everything. And the neighbors have made it clear they don't want this to be a dog park. They would support having it as a garden again, but only if the district were to install a decorative fence. We don't want any, and it was a park. It was a playground over 25 years ago, but it was deemed unsafe because people just put the playground equipment there and the city removed it. So we want this, we appreciate green space. We appreciate it being clean, no cars parking there. We want DPW to continue to keep it clean, and we want people not to park there, and we don't want any trash there. A neighbor has been captured. We believe it's a neighbor on film actually throwing trash there at night. We believe to bolster the effort to turn it into a playground. So this whole process has been very surreptitious, very disrespectful. If you wanted to share your ideas for this, you could have at least sent the letter to me. You didn't do that. You didn't include my constituents, and it's divisive, and it looks just basically like newcomer entitlement, and it's so disrespectful. And if you want to be a part of a community, you should act like you're a part of the community and not address issues until you get your way. We've had many meetings about this, many meetings, and the community has spoken. And I'm going to continue to stand with my neighbors, and I'm going to go back and tell them about the efforts that are underway before we're able to meet with the council member. I mean, it's just very disrespectful. And Commissioner May, you haven't said one thing about your constituents, that were involved in a fire tonight, but you're here promoting a divisive issue about a park that we've already told you how we want this space utilized. And with that, I will rest and we'll address it another way.
A lot of comments there.
That's
5D07.
right, a lot of comments.
A lot of comments. 5D07.
No comments.
Okay, 5D08. You can go have the floor again.
Yes. I'll let Commissioner Blacknell share, and then that way I can respond to anyone.
Okay. Commissioner Blacknell, any comments or questions for Commissioner May? None. Commissioner Blacknell, you're muted if you're speaking. I'm sorry.
No, I have no questions.
Okay. Well, I'm going to respond to a couple of the things that you shared, Commissioner Henderson. First and foremost, I'm happy to send you some of the service request numbers from 311 that I put in for cars that were illegally parked on that space, as well as the litter that's on that space. I have not lived in the neighborhood as long as you have, but I've lived here long enough to know that illegally parked vehicles and litter, legal dumping on that lot is not an issue that has only popped up in the last few weeks. I also think that if you're going to attest that neighbors are throwing litter on that property in order to turn it into a playground, bring your receipts. Let's see the video, because that's a terrible accusation. I've spent a lot of time with constituents in Carver Langston who are interested in this park, including constituents of 5D06, and each of them is proceeding in the most respectful way that I can imagine. Several of those residents, not me, residents who are not ANC commissioners, knocked on every door on L, Lang, Lyman, and M Street.
Oh, that's not true.
To talk to community members.
It's not true.
Okay. To talk to community members about.
You didn't knock on my.
In this.
Commissioner, please don't interrupt. No one interrupted you.
You interrupt.
Continue, Commissioner May.
You're very.
The long and short of it is, this is not a process that is happening in the dark. It's not an attempt to hoodwink anyone. The other thing that I do want to push back on, and I think it's important to clarify, everything that you said about how the lot was poorly used in the past, I wholly agree with you. It should not be a space for drug dealers or for people to discard unwanted furniture. It should be a place for people in our community to recreate. It should be a place for children. And I've met a lot of the children in this neighborhood. And I can assure you that the 4, 5, and 6-year-olds who would use a playground are not going to be selling drugs or utilizing drugs on the playground. Their interest is in joy and in having a place, again, to recreate safely within their own neighborhood. So I think a lot of the things that you said are they're unfair. I do want to also note, I really appreciate that you reached out to people who live across the street from you and their house was on fire last night. I didn't know about that fire. I'm glad that you shared. No one came to my door at 3:30 in the morning last night. We have cameras on our porch and there's no one there, but I'm glad to know about it. I will certainly be reaching out to those residents, and I appreciate you stepping up for people who share a street with you. We are going to have to learn to work together because my single member district borders yours. It goes down the middle of your street. And a lot of your residents and a lot of my residents have shared goals and interests. And so if you'd like to sit down and talk more about how we can work to make this space the best that it can be, I'm happy to do that. But I don't think that creating a sense of fear about the way that property was 20 years ago is going to solve community issues in a productive way that's going to bring a better life to members of this community, people who've been here for 20 or 30 years, or people who've been here for 6 months, all of whom are deserving of the amenities that we're advocating for.
Thank you. Commissioner Rhodes, you had your hand raised.
I did, and I do appreciate the work that you put in, Commissioner May. What should happen is Commissioner Henderson should send the list of the petition signatures, and you both walk around to those that signed her petition and talk to those neighbors again and get a better understanding about what.
I don't need for you to tell me what I should do.
Excuse
Commissioner
me.
Henderson, please stop. Please stop.
No,
And
go ahead, Commissioner
walk
Rhodes.
around and talk to those neighbors and give them a good understanding about what's going to happen to that space. I'm sure that once the people on the petition get a good idea of what's going to happen to the space, then maybe some minds will be changed. But again, it's for the community and it's a positive. It's
our community.
So my
Everyone's
feedback.
community.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Rhodes, I interrupted you.
No, it's everyone's community and everyone has a voice.
So I just wanted to add, Commissioner Henderson seemed to want the same, but wasn't in favor of who was taking the charge from what she stated.
No, that's a mischaracterization.
So continuing with what I wanted to say without being interrupted, was the fact that if this wants to move forward in terms of letter of support, I think best that we probably table the discussion to next month's meeting.
Yeah, that's best.
To Commissioner Henderson, do you not understand what interrupting means? You're doing it consistently. So anyways, continuing. I think we all should just table the discussion to next month to allow folks that neighbor and border this area and share this area to really engage the community and provide receipts to what they're stating and accusing or referencing. So I think that's the most logical thing to do in this situation, especially with some of our commissioners that are opposed to it. But Commissioner May, you provided great information. You provided a great presentation. Again, I echo that this was also shared and pushed forward by the previous commissioner that touched this SMD. And Commissioner LaToya Moore used this space actively for the community. So and just going on to a question asked by one of the residents of 5D directly to Commissioner Henderson, if you do not want to see this as a green space, what do you want to see it as?
It's already a green space. We use it for movie nights. We want to keep it green, clean, with no cars. We do not, and the community has agreed that if we are to look at a use for another use for this space, again, to replant it as a garden, but this time with a decorative fence, not an ugly chain link fence, but a decorative fence with no benches. We don't want people to sit in there. We don't want people to feel like they can drink their alcohol, use their drugs, provide disruption to the community. Many of those people still live in the community, but they've been forced to modify their behavior, and putting a space there, a playground there, like playgrounds across the city, will attract adults who abuse the space, and we don't want that. So if we were to address this matter democratically and respectfully, it would have been nice for Commissioner May, to come to me with any concerns from some very few of my constituents. I know exactly who this individual is, and the neighbors don't like it. It's a disrespectful process. And you have no right to come in and try to undermine what the community wants. It's a democratic process. We want everyone to enjoy the neighborhood, but you don't get to come in, find ways to undermine the community. And that's what this is about. And it's so disrespectful. And
So just touching on the fact, Commissioner, you've made comments that you do not want to be told what to do. I suppose you should probably practice what you preach and not tell other commissioners what to do as well. So just please be mindful of your words, because it comes off a bit confusing with what you're saying. Moving forward, I do make a motion that we table this letter of support in this project to next month's meeting. I don't know if there's any additional conversations that we want to have tonight, but do any of the, I don't see any, I think there's no questions from the public directly. But I have one question from Ms. Juanita Diggs. I'll allow her to speak if the commissioners don't have any other questions or comments. Okay. Ms. Diggs, you are able to speak.
Thank you so much. So I'm wondering, I'm thinking our kids in this neighborhood, and I'm sort of down the street from that property. I can't see them saying no to a slide, a swing, or possible merry-go-round. Until we address the issue of homelessness and drug abuse, and all the social ills that we have, we're not going to get rid of those issues. Commissioner Henderson did a great job with trying to clean up Starburst Plaza, but it still is a bit of a problem because the base issues were not truly addressed, so that it didn't get taken care of. Why should the kids suffer, and those of us who want to walk back from the Safeway and sit down for a minute with our packages on the way back home, not be able to sit down in the park for 1 second or two? I think you should ask the rest of us if we actually would like or not like this to happen as well.
Thank you, Ms. Diggs. So just kind of, I'm sorry, Commissioner May, I don't know if you want to table this or you are requesting a vote on it tonight.
Well, listen, I think that it's easy to sit here, any one of us, and say that we speak for the entire community, but that's simply not true. It's simply not true. No one of us does. And as our power as an ANC comes from our collectiveness. It doesn't come from we are not individually endowed with any particular statutory powers. We have powers as a collective. And listen, I recall that every single person on this call, myself included, had people vote for them and against them in November. My point being, not every single person will agree with our views and what we move forward. This was not a project that I dreamt up one night. It is the product of true neighborhood engagement. And there are many people in the neighborhood who would really love to have a playground space. It doesn't have to take away from other activities. I don't think a playground or a park or a garden would prevent us from using space for a movie night. I imagine if movie nights were occurring on that property, it probably included some of the private property. So that could still be achieved. And certainly it's not a foregone conclusion that DPR will find this site suitable for a playground. They may find it suitable for a different kind of park. And they may also do so with or without our advocacy. Carver Langston, as I noted, is on the list of prioritization. So, my inclination is to move this forward to a vote. I think there's support on the commission for this exploration. There's a lot more to come, certainly, and there would be much more engagement before anything would ever break ground. But if the collective here wants to table the issue, then I understand.
Commissioner May, would you be interested in adding an addition to the letter in support of continuing projects, community projects, green space projects that have already occurred there in the last 30 years?
Is something specific, a specific project, or just a broad support?
Commissioner Henderson referenced a garden, and she also referenced movie nights. I referenced that Commissioner Latoya Moore did a huge block party there, which was very successful. It was beautiful to see, Black and brown folks together that, didn't speak the same language, but they were there enjoying their time. I don't know how active Commissioner Henderson is in the Latino community, but as a Latino, it was beautiful to see that it was
Oh
used for
my
that space
God, this is ridiculous.
for that. So can we
This is so
potentially add that in the letter to continue those kind of traditions and projects that have occurred?
I would be happy to.
Your comments are so disrespectful.
Oh gosh, she continues.
I'd be happy to add to the letter to note that that we, again, I think I want to honor the residents who've advocated for playground space, but also note that this site may not be deemed suitable for playground space.
Right.
I still think DPR should invest in improving this space. I think it could be a wonderful community garden. It could be an improved green space. I mean, there is grass in the lot, but it's in disrepair. It could be a much improved facility for the types of events that you indicated, Commissioner Saucedo Guzman.
Commissioner McCollum, you had a question or comment?
Yeah, just real quick. I would say that, if there is going to be an edit to the letter, that we would try to make it specific so that it's not so broad that then we give away the power to other entities to decide what they want to put there. So if there, I know the request was to Commissioner May to, add or amend his letter, but I would just say if that is the route that he's willing to go, that, kind of collectively we're specific about it. I understand what Commissioner Henderson is saying about the space for movie nights and gatherings. But I would just want us to just make sure that whatever we do with the letter, it's kind of specific and it outlines what the intent is and not necessarily so broad that it could be utilized and understood in a different capacity. Thank you.
Commissioner May. Thank you, Commissioner McCollum. Commissioner May, you can make the motion if you would like us to support this.
Sure. I move for ANC 5D to support this letter to the Department of Parks and Recreation.
Okay, can Commissioner May get a second?
Discussion.
A second by Commissioner Rhodes. All in favor of this?
Discussion.
We already had our discussion, Commissioner Henderson.
Robert's orders.
We do need to allow for there to be a 2-minute discussion because now we've had a motion. So we'll open for a 2-minute discussion, Commissioner Henderson.
Well, I'm going to be less than 2 minutes.
Can you please place a timer on there?
Can you please be
the timer?
Thank you.
I'm starting the timer now.
Thank you, Commissioner McCollum.
I would simply ask, this matter is disrespectful. The process is disrespectful. And the more you move forward with it, the more it looks like, privileged entitlement for a few newcomers. This process is going to be discussed with Council Member Parker on Thursday, and this commission doesn't need to take any action prior to that.
All right, thank you. Any more discussion? We still have a few more seconds here for discussion. Any more discussion? Seeing that there's none, Chairman, you may now take back over there.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner May made a motion to support the letter that he presented to the public. Second by Commissioner, I'm sorry, was that Commissioner Rhodes or Black now?
Rhodes.
Commissioner Rhodes, thank you. All in favor of support of this letter presented by Commissioner May, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Okay, all opposed?
Opposed.
And any abstentions? Okay, the ayes have it. The motion carries. We'll move forward in support of this letter on behalf of ANC 5D.
I'll be sending my own letter.
Okay. So moving forward, I think that comes to a close on the agenda. We have an opportunity for folks to ask questions, specifically from the public. For those that are still with us, feel free to raise your hand or drop a question in the Q&A feature. And Just a friendly reminder for those still with us, our next ANC public meeting will be Monday, March 13th at 7 p.m. Our next committee of a whole meeting will be Monday, February 27th at 6 p.m. The link information for our COW meeting will be available on our ANC 5D website. So for those interested in viewing the behind the scenes planning and discussion that we have in preparing for our agenda, feel free to join us. We won't be engaging those participating, but it is an open space for you to watch what we discuss in reference to the March meeting. Are there any questions from the public? Desiree Williams has a question. Would the senior building become the standard, the new standard height for their next vacant building? I think that was a question in reference to precedents in terms of zoning. Are you referencing if we allow that height to move forward, would that become a standard? Sorry, I'm losing my internet access here. So typically what developers do is when these type of projects move forward, they use previous approved projects to move forward for greater weight to move forward with the same height. So I want to say that the answer is yes, depending on the project itself. But any of these type of questions, specifically with zoning, feel free to join us at our ANC zoning committee meetings. They are the Thursdays after our ANC public meetings, and we have some great resources there in terms of knowledgeable individuals that can answer those questions. Are there any other questions from the public? I don't see any hands raised. Ms. Diggs, I don't know if you have your hand raised from before. Did you have a question, Ms. Diggs?
Not a question, just want to make a comment. So earlier someone said that they had a problem getting into the meeting. I have to say that I re-registered since you said the meetings were now going to be on the second Monday as opposed to the second Tuesday. In re-registering, it paired to my calendar. I was able to click on and get right in. So I'm not sure why they were having a problem, but Zoom pretty much works that way. So thank you so much for doing that for us, Commissioner.
Good to hear, especially from one of our active senior citizens. If it works for all types of folks, I'm sure it should work for everybody. And any commissioners that have issues with constituents getting on to this public space, feel free to reach out to the officers if you're having issues, if you personally can't handle it yourself. Okay, no questions from the public. We move forward. I make a motion. I move that we adjourn tonight's meeting. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Rhodes. All in favor of adjourning tonight's meeting at 10:04 p.m. Say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the ayes have it. That concludes tonight's meeting. Thank you everyone for participating.